coming in hot. Hang on a second.
Join me at Revolution Radio, Studio B, at 11 a.m. on Saturday for free association, when we take a look at philosophy, spirituality, psychology, social issues, and geopolitics. It's every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Studio B at freedomslips.com.
What is going on here? I demand an explanation.
We work for a highly funded yet unofficial government agency.
An intelligence organization that fears intelligence, historically not awesome.
The United States is a democratic nation. Here the people rule. We build no walls to keep them in, nor organize any system of police to keep them mute.
Freedom isn't free at all, but it comes with the highest of costs.
We have you, the listeners, and the hosts at
Revolution Radio,
for allowing us to bring you a platform of free speech.
Right now, it's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, clock's run out. Time's up.
Wind is blowing cold and dark. On the road and no way out. Broken hearts, the smoking gun. On the run. On the run.
An absolute guarantee that the current crisis will not escalate to a dangerous level.
That is our...
Are you still there?
Missile warning, this is Beale. Confidence is high. I repeat, confidence is high. Roger, we've got 32 targets in track and 10 impacting points. I want to confirm, is this an exercise? Roger, copy. This is not an exercise.
Roger, understand. Major Reinhardt, we have a massive attack against the U.S. net at this time. ICBMs. Numerous ICBMs. Roger, understand. Over 300 missiles inbound now.
Much
from the broken down, low rent, sleazy, double greasy pirate radio Nut Hut Studios, it's time for the very first ever Southern.
It's Friday night. My name's Jimmy. You rolled the dice. You took a chance. You found it. Got a great show planned for you tonight. And Into the Microcosm is on the out.
I'm giving all my love for you now, baby. Oh yeah. With our rule, we came from far away for you now, lady. Oh yeah.
Bruce McDonald's here. Rockin' Rio's here. I know you're all wondering where in the world is the epic journeyman. Children of the sun. It's Friday night around here. At least Friday. On the West Coast. The best coast.
West Coast.
Hey man, if you're going down, you know, as long as you look good when you, doesn't matter what you do, as long as you look good while you're doing it in America. Land of the free, home of the slave. That's right. Land of the free, home of the slave. America. Come on down. Get yourself a piece of that American dream.
Scratch right out.
Step right up.
Long way.
Stick out your eyeball. Let me get a scan on it.
Left to say. I never met a salesman like you before.
Come on down. Experience the American dream while all the Americans leave America for Portugal or wherever the hell they're going. Rockin' Rio.
Think I got one more mile left to go.
Are you there?
I am here.
Wow. It's been a lot of shows. A lot of minutes. A lot of hours. You know the average human being works 2,000 hours a year. A full-time job. Sometimes, as the weeks go by, enough people listen to this show on YouTube, it equals up to a year full-time. 2,000 hours, man. Jesus. Well, I don't know. I do know this. We may have a special guest joining us. I reached out, not sure if he's still up and about. He's on the East Coast, but Rockin' Rio. Come on, man. What the hell's going on the East Coast? Wait a minute. Let's get, hey Bruce, you gotta just have to come in cold, man. Cause I didn't get you, I didn't get your intro. Here. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, he's Bruce McDonald from Talamanca Mountains in Costa Rica. Here he is, Bruce McDonald. There you go.
Hey, y'all.
What's happening, man?
How y'all doing?
Doing good. Hold on. The marriage of the coyote women. All them witches. Hey, Sogal. It's good to see you. Go ahead, Rock and Rio. What the hell's going on over there on the East Coast now? Mosquito infestations. I mean,
yeah, we have infestations. We have situations. I mean, it's New York is devolving rapidly into a low-class third world society.
So Alex Jones was ahead of the curve when he got himself Mad Max World or whatever the hell his new website is.
I mean, this is Snake Plissken type stuff, man.
Well, are all the elites? Are they all the elites driving around in bulletproof limousines, bulletproof, bomb-proof limousines, with all the sweaty, toily?
They don't like our governor, Miss Kathy. There, she won't even come down to this end of the state. Like, she's ruling from up north, but has not visited the city yet.
Well, man,
has not been anywhere near it.
That feeds my controversy, man. It feeds and fuels my controversy.
Because now, Mayor Adams too, right? The mayor of New York. He was all into, we're a sanctuary city. Send us everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now he's like, please stop. We have no more room. And they're putting these people up in churches. They're putting these people up in schools. They actually are offering to pay people to take them into their homes.
No, I saw that, but I don't know. Maybe they just assume your identity and come in there and all of a sudden, hey, come on in, Bob. You can stay here. Here, sleep right here on the cot. And then you go to sleep, and the next thing you know, you wake up, and the dude's choking you to death as he's stealing your ID and your Social Security card.
Well, let's put it this way. The nicest places in Manhattan, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, now looked like the worst places in the deepest part of the hood.
Are you
from
serious?
The 70s.
Well, you know what's funny?
Yeah.
You know what's really funny about that?
There's trash all over the place. There's people sleeping in the streets. New York City has always had a homeless issue as it is. You're not taking care of New York homeless people. They're taking care of South American homeless people. Those people get to go in the hotel and stay and get free food and shelter and whatever. But, the poor New Yorkers get nothing. Actually, New Yorkers are being displaced to take care of the migrants. So, it is actually, Martin. Yes, it is becoming Gotham. That is
Jesus.
Even radio hosts on ABC radio, talk radio here in New York, have been talking about it being Gotham City. So, it's definitely devolved.
Well, I don't know, man. San Francisco is literally a ghost town, and I'm telling you, when I say ghost town, I mean Market Street was the #1 retail center. Just off of there was Embarcadero Center, and it was like non-stop people with plastic just going in there and buying shit. Walking around with bags with these special names on them, and they were everywhere. They were going up and down in cable cars, and they were just spending all this money. It was like money was just going out of. There was so much money floating around. And all of a sudden, well, they say it's because they got robbed or they got stolen from or whatever. But I think there's a big situation going on with any kind of storefront situation, square footages, and any kind of major high traffic areas that cost all this money, because the days of people walking around and shopping are over. People want to save money, and how they're doing it, it's coming next day, and sometimes even in the same day. So Amazon has literally destroyed the whatever retail was left. So it's not just the fact that there was, wholesale stealing going on. Up to $900. Nobody calls the cops. I mean, come on, man. You say that. Go ahead and put that on the news. You know what I mean? It's one thing if it happens and you don't do anything about it, but the minute they start talking about it on the news, come on, man. Who's not going to go down to Nordstrom with a black plastic bag and steal $900 worth of shit?
Oh yeah, they do. They break a window. They walk. They don't even run into the store and flash mob it kind of thing. They just walk in, they fill up a shopping cart, even at like Walmart or wherever, and then just walk out the front door, and like nobody stops them.
When you say they, though, you mean the thieves or the robbers. You're not trying to infer anything
the
by
thieves or
that.
the robbers.
Okay,
Like
I just want to clear that up.
The hood
Some
rats, the gang members,
some people
whoever's doing it. Like these guys, they blatantly just like they'll walk into a store, they'll put on a $500 leather jacket and just walk right out the front door, and nobody says nothing to them. The cops won't do anything about it. Nobody stops them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing
it's like just go shopping and take whatever you want, and there's no legal recourse, because if you do that, then you're then you're a Nazi and you're being oppressive and you're whatever.
Well, this just
and the cops are afraid of it because there's gangs of like 12, 13, 14-year-old thugs running around with guns. I saw a video that came out in New York a couple days ago. These kids were in a school gymnasium, and the one kid opened up his jacket and he goes, "Yeah, I got like 20 pipes up in here, man." This is a 14-year-old kid with like a jacket full of guns in a school, and like he's flashing like the one on his hip at the guy, like at the gym teacher or whoever the school person was.
Yeah.
And all he said was, "Put that away.
Put that
and
thing
ignore
away.
and ignore
Glad
the
they got that.
situation."
Put that thing away, you little prick.
Glad they got that.
Before you look at what he goes, the teacher's all, "You got 20 pipes on me?" He goes, "Well, check this out. I'm going to lay some pipe right now because I got 40 pipe right here. See?"
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. Like, they don't do anything about it. And,
what can you do
we
at
keep
this
hearing
point?
about gun control. Well, how did a 14-year-old kid get 20 guns to get in his jacket? I mean, he didn't apply for those permits. They're not legal, right?
Well, they're trying to do all kinds of. They got whole new things coming out with the ATF. I don't want to delve down in that hole right now, but I did want to say that. Did you see with this legislation in California with electric cars and trucks? Yeah, so when you bought that Ford Lightning, $100,000 truck. Yeah, it has the ability to use it as a generator in the event of an emergency. You can take your truck and plug it on in and, watch TV or whatever you're going to do. Well, it turns out that wasn't really the benefit of the Ford Lightning. What they have now in California is you have to have dual direction charging, so that if you charge up your electric vehicle and you got battery power, and the power goes brown in California, they're going to suck the energy right out of your car.
Yeah, see, and they market it to you, too, as, you can take it to your off-road camping spot up in the mountains, and you can plug your laptop in and your TV in, and, you can power all your devices off your car battery, right? That's the upsell of it.
Yeah, whatever.
But they're using you as a storage unit, man.
So everybody's wondering where Epic Journeyman is. He's going to try to call us tonight. I got a report from the Journeyman, and so here's what's going on. The fire, it burned a lot of the telephone lines and power lines and stuff, so there's no internet, and there's no landline type phone. Cell phone service is out, obviously, because a cell phone's got to get its signal from somewhere, and guess what?
Yeah, the tower burns up and the comm lines burn up and the fiber optics are burned up.
That's what I'm saying. The fiber optics got burned up, didn't they? That's right. So see, I don't know. I remember when the Puerto Rican hurricane happened, and I'm not talking about Billy Ray Valentine. The Puerto Rican hurricane where everything was destroyed and the power was out, and I got a picture of all these people that are standing there with their arms up in the air trying to get as high as they can with their cell phone to see if they can just catch a bar. Well, Epic Journeyman thinks he may be able to go to the up country in Maui, where there's less people and no capacity issues, because whatever cell service is happening, And, we've talked about this before on the show, maybe years ago, so not recent enough to make a difference to anybody. But, so listen, when an emergency happens, and the first thing everybody does is jump on their cell phone, the network can't handle it, and what happens is everything just basically doesn't happen. No calls, no nothing. Until people get off the phone, until the traffic clears and it goes back to normal. And even then, depending on what happened, nothing might happen. I mean, it could take days for all the cell phone carriers. They have something called a cow, and it basically looks like a trailer, and it's a cell site, and you can pull it behind a truck, and they'll have to ship over some cows from a different island, and get some cows in there, and they'll get some service going. But until they get the cows and they get the internet back, I mean, the cable comes up out of the ocean clearly, right? So it comes somewhere. So
and you know what COW stands for, right?
Cellular.
It's cellular on wheels. It's like hell on wheels from the.
Yeah.
From the.
Exactly. Well, hey, man, those things are powerful. You definitely don't want a cow next to your house. Speaking of cows.
On wheels, man.
Speaking of cows next to your house. Last year I was working for a company, and I don't think I talked about it on the air at the time because I was under an agreement or whatever, but I'm not under an agreement anymore. So I just wanted to, since we're talking about this cow, and it's going to tie into what we're about to talk about in a second. But so I was working for this company, and they had won this particular project to go up into Davis, where the college is, and go up there and paint a bunch of these cell tower antennas, to paint them, because they want to paint them so they look just like the rest of wherever they're at. So if they're on a telephone pole, they want to paint it brown. If they're on a light pole, they want to paint it white, whatever. So anyways, I go up there, they send me up there to go look at this job, take pictures, and go to each location or whatever. So I get up there, and all of a sudden, I'm in these residential neighborhoods. Okay, just regular mom and pop style, homes, people, families living there, kids. And it's these light poles, these lighting standards that don't even, I'm not saying they're trying to hide it, because it's clear there's something there at the top of the light pole. It's a big fat antenna. You know what I mean? It's there. But the thing is if you're in the neighborhood, it just looks like a street pole to you, really. I mean, you're not going to really, unless you're looking for something, it just looks normal. But the point is that when I got there, I was like, well, so you want me to paint that? Well, how am I supposed to paint it? You want me to spray paint it? Well, do you think the spray paint's going to float down on people's cars and shit? No, you can't spray paint it. So how do you think you can paint it? The only one way to do it, with a roller standing in front of it on the top of a 40-foot articulated boom with a roller going. So I told him, I don't think you should do the job. They said they were going to do it anyway. And I said, well, listen, I'm just telling you right now, I don't want to, I'm not getting up there, and I'm not sitting in front of that shit when it's hot. And the lady who's the head of the company, I was on the phone with her. She's all, well, oh, really? Really? And I said, yeah, I'm not going to work in front of that while it's on. She goes, well, I can understand your concern. I said, well, you know what? I'm even more concerned with the fact that it's dangerous RF, and I don't notice any red stickers at eye level for all the people walking their dogs in the neighborhood, letting them know that there's a high-powered cell tower on top of that lamp pole right above their house. Yeah, well, I'm not working there anymore. They all of a sudden, they lost a contract, and old Jimmy was out the door. So see what happens when you say something? Yeah. You say something, you're out the door, Jack. Nobody wants to hear it.
Yeah, well, that's pretty common with a lot of jobs, man. They just want you to shut up and do what you're told. Right?
That's right.
And don't pay attention to what's actually wrong with anything, or that there's a problem with something, or something might be, a little illegal, or a little bit, against code or whatever. Just roll with it, Jimmy. You're getting paid.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen. We all been rolling with it, and I was looking at something earlier today. We're not going to get into it tonight, but obviously there's something out there already that's called 10G. All right? Yep.
What you talking about, Jimmy?
I'm talking about 10 gigabits per second, man. 10G.
10 gigahertz.
At 10 gigahertz. 10 gigabits per second, too.
Yeah.
So anyway, I watched a video earlier today of a company hooking it up, and so they got 9.8 gig, and they said the other 2% was overhead. Or the guy was complaining though; he was a customer. This was actually a hookup where I was watching this hookup. But the point is that this 5G that everybody's been worried about, and like we were probably the only voice in the wilderness that was saying it, because everybody else went completely berserk about cell phone traffic and 5G. And I think we were probably the only ones out here saying, no, the 5G they're talking about isn't your fifth generation cell stuff. But that does have an effect, Rock and Rio.
Yes, it
doesn't.
The difference between 5 gigahertz wireless and 5G cellular, they both have separate issues and separate problems.
Right. So the
5G cellular, the problem is it's high frequency, and it's a neural disruptor, and can affect your brain waves. It can affect your DNA and your biology in weird ways. It can give you cancer.
And you got to specifically though
the 5G wireless is a whole different ball of wax.
All right, hang on a second. Let's break this out. So listen. One of the things that everybody needs to understand, if you categorize 5G as all cell phone traffic, it's not the same. So if you're going to say that 5G does a specific thing to a specific organ, you'd have to say that you would be determining exactly what frequency it is that does that to the organ. And unless you know specifically what the frequencies are for the cell carriers, Rhea, so they're all high power, high frequency. Tell everybody, what we were talking about earlier, which is they're all high power, high frequency signals.
Right. So depending on what company you're with, whether it's Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, or whoever, the frequency ranges vary from anywhere from 18 gigahertz to 60 gigahertz for 5G. So yeah, that makes a huge difference in the speeds. Like AT&T always claims to be the fastest. It's because they're on higher frequency bands. But the downside to the higher frequency bands is shorter transmission range. So they have to up the power. So if you're close to a high frequency tower and at a high power limit, you're actually in more danger than being a farther distance from a lower power, farther carrying signal. So, I mean, there's a whole lot of nuances to the whole situation.
Well, what we were trying to point out too, and in that vein, because there's many different frequencies out there on the spectrum. So the spectrum is wide, and isn't it, Rio? Cell phone signal. So everybody's on 5G, which is fifth generation antennas or transmission equipment, right? But they're all transmitting.
Most of that is just basically a higher frequency version of the 4G LTE system.
Right.
It's pretty much the same. It's just shorter antennas and higher power.
But they're
higher
all
short range power
transmitting on different frequencies. So to put that into context, it's like Bruce is singing a song, Rio's singing a song, and I'm singing a song, and we're all singing it at different tones. And so but if you flip this around and turn the 5G into your wireless router, 5G, 5 gigahertz router, then all of a sudden things start to come into focus. That's what the 5G means. So everyone's house is about 100 feet away from each other. So and these routers are super high power with this 5 gigahertz, and they're blasting shit right through your wall, so that Joe Blow with his internet telephone, he can make voice over IP calls using the internet. Go ahead, Bruce. You're about to say something?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever mentioned this before, but when you build an earthbag house, you put 2 coursings of barbed wire between each row, and the rows are about 6 inches thick, and then all the way through you put rebar. So I basically live in a Faraday cage.
Nice.
Like, for example, I'm in the back house now, and I got to have, up in the windowsill, I have to have an internet booster because my modem, which is only 10 meters away, won't come through these walls.
Mm-hmm.
Just thought I'd throw that in.
Well, my personal suggestion to you, Bruce, is to do what I've done. I do have a wireless router here that I occasionally turn on when I need to download an update for my phone or something to that effect. But every computer or electronic in my house is on hardwire. And the Wi-Fi router stays off.
So somebody in the chat, somebody,
you know, and I make effort to keep the cell phone at the other end of the house or the other end of the room. I don't ever sit with it like 2 feet away from me.
The guy over,
we got
actually using it. You know?
So Matt Arnold, go ahead.
I'm going to bump up to Starlink as soon. It's supposed to be here now, like third quarter in Costa Rica. It's all over Panama already. El Salvador's got it. Like, I don't know how you speed this up, but I mean, the government of Costa Rica is notoriously incompetent, right? So, but it'll be here any day, and then I'm off to the races.
So,
you know. But by the way, man, I've put like 10 grand into my place in the last like 3-4 months. I got the whole. I redid, like, I'm in the back so much now because I'm redoing the front house. I took out all the interior walls. I'm going open concept, and then I did a drop down wood ceiling. And I mean, the most beautiful wood you've ever seen. It's all cut and planed by my brother-in-law from where I live in the rainforest here. And and I'm putting a new roof on the back place here. It's been 7 years, right? That's the only thing you have to really do with earthbag houses is change the roof every so often. But I don't know what the hell I'm talking about or why I'm distracting everybody with this stuff.
Me neither. I was wondering the same thing myself.
If there's tourism.
So listen,
I don't want to take away from the dilapidating U.S. situation there.
So Matt in the chat room is talking about suspicious observers saying people are going crazy because their brains are getting fried by the sun. We were saying that a year ago, dude. And let me just say this: that's what the top hats are all about. That's why those dudes are wearing top hats back in the 1800s. Rock and Rio.
Yeah.
Listen. Bruce, listen to this.
Of course it goes further. So in this one, they said, can they understand the inner monologue, the things you're saying to yourself in your own mind? Mind you, by the way, when you dream, like your visual cortex runs in reverse, so your dreams are no longer safe. But we'll try this. So they had people watch a video and just narrate what was going on in the video in their mind. So there's a woman.
Okay, so I'm going to set this up here now. So someone is watching a video, and while they're watching the video, they've been told to narrate what they see in their mind quietly. They're not moving their lips. They're not doing anything. They're thinking out what they're seeing. What happens is absolutely amazing.
She gets hit in the back, she falls over. This is what the computer reconstructed the person thinking. See, a girl looks just like me.
So the AI now has been listening to her thoughts and puts out a text of exactly what she narrated in her own head quietly.
Get hit in the back, and then she is knocked off. So our thoughts are starting to be decoded. Yeah. Just think about what this means for authoritarian states, for instance. Or if you want to generate images that maximally activate your pleasure sensor, anything else. Okay, but let's keep going, right? To really get the sense of the combinatorics of this. How about, can we go from Wi-Fi radio signals, sort of like the Wi-Fi routers in your house, they're bouncing off radio signals that work sort of like sonar. Can you go from that to where human beings are, to images? So what they did is they had, a camera looking at a space with people in it. That's sort of like coming in from one eye. The other eye is the radio signals, so sonar from the Wi-Fi router. And they just learned to predict, this is where the human beings are. Then they took away the camera. So all the AI had was the language of radio signals bouncing around a room. And this is what they're able to reconstruct. real-time 3D pose estimation, right? So suddenly AI has turned every Wi-Fi router into a camera that can work in the dark, specially tuned for tracking living beings.
Literally, the imagery that the AI came up with looked exactly like the people in the positions that they were in. So Rio and Bruce, your Wi-Fi router is now a sonar for your the general vicinity. I guess that's good for the hitmen who have the headsets or whatever, the goggles.
I mean, we talked about this, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. I think,
know
about the potential of it, and you know.
And here it is.
Here it is. Now they have the AI tuned to do it. You know, so that little innocuous Wi-Fi router you got sitting up on the wall there, Bruce, to boost your internet signal over to your laptop. If somebody really wanted to hack it good, they could read the signal off it and know that you're sitting in your chair right now looking at your microphone.
Wow.
Isn't it crazy?
Time to go Viet Cong, man. Dig some tunnels.
Hey, all you need is
hard wires are the way, man. It's
all you need is a little bit of rice and some rat meat, and you'll be good. So listen, we got some other stuff we're gonna bring up a little bit later, because I found this guy, and he's literally, I mean, I'm literally shocked at his credentials, because I didn't find him because of his professional life. I found him because of another video that he had put out, and it's almost like the video itself stands alone. But then when you hear what the man has to say, okay, and then you hear about
could be worse.
It's good, man. But listen, we're gonna check back in with the secret. Who's behind the door tonight? We haven't broken it out yet, because, like I said, I pinged, but I had no response. Now, Epic Journeyman may call in, so be ready for that. It could happen at any moment. If you can pick the moment that he calls in, you win. Other than
Speaking of calling in, Jimmy, should I give the number out?
Not quite yet. Rock and Rio. So,
yeah.
You did delve in, like we've been serious with the politics and the reverse speech for a while, and you ventured kind of out of the realm of the norm for this Friday night, and then I brought some gasoline to that fire with that individual that I was just talking about, and you actually having to find some stuff in reverse from the person. So I think it's gonna, all in all, I think it'll be a titillating second hour. Now I have to warn you though, there will be language that some may find offensive, and it's not necessarily the opinion of Into the Microcosm or Revolution.radio, who's fully listener supported. Come on down, become a supporter. Revolution.radio, become a patron. There's many ways to support, and please do, because without a platform, the air goes silent, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll be coming back with some of that material that we're talking about, but and I'm gonna throw it over to you, Rock and Rio and Bruce, while I check in with our secret guest and see if he is going to join us or not. Rock and Rio.
Well,
Bruce, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Okay, so I just want to briefly touch on something that I found absolutely fascinating this week. Has to do with a country that's fairly close to me. Has to do with a topic that's everywhere these days, and that is aliens. Has to do with a remote Peruvian village and 7-foot aliens abducting people, and they're called in the local dialect, which is Spanish, but I don't understand how they came up with this expression. They're called the face peelers. And this is like national news in Peru. Like the tribe has asked the Navy to come in and help them. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's a few good clips out there. Rio, have you heard anything about this?
No, I haven't. This is fascinating. Do continue.
Oh, it's quite fascinating. it's quite fascinating. So they actually have some video, and apparently in this part of the rainforest, it's always a rainforest too, if you guys have noticed, in Peru, it's a hotbed for paranormal activity. Peru has always been a really weird place for paranormal activity.
Right. Well,
I don't know
there's
why
there's
that
some
is.
mysterious architecture in Peru too, right? So
Yes,
architecture.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So you
kind
got
of-
some aliens coming in there and allegedly abducting. They took a 15-year-old girl. They got her back, I think, but it's like it's just wild. Like the stuff that's popping into the news cycle now it's like
So
Hollywood. It's like
you say 7-foot aliens, huh?
7-foot gray aliens, and they have red discs on their feet, and they can hover off the ground. That's the story the natives are telling, the villagers. Yeah, and so I find that very interesting. Now, let me ask you straight up, Rio.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think New York was better under Trump or Biden?
Oh, no question. It was definitely better under
Biden.
Trump.
Yeah, I don't know why our cohorts on this show are so down on the Trumpster, man. I mean, I don't know how you could look at America now and not wish that guy was back in office.
Well,
I mean,
see, the other problem with New York, though, is the governorship of the state and the mayor of New York, right? So, you say what you want about Giuliani now, but he was a very good mayor, and he was well loved by the people, and he had the city running pretty straight. He had the crime rates way down. He had the economy rolling. He had people wanting to move in, and then I mean, even what's his name, the billionaire guy, he wasn't terrible. Bloomberg, yes, he wasn't terrible. But he didn't do too much damage. But the last two mayors, especially now Adams is a complete idiot, right? And he backtracks on everything. He double talks on everything. He doesn't know what to do. That's his biggest problem. Is he doesn't know what to do. And he opened, like the whole migrant situation, he opened his mouth and got into trouble. So it was better under Trump, but it was even better back when Obama was around. It's weird as that sounds to say, but that's because the mayor was, the mayor of New York City was actually running it properly, not letting it just go to hell like it is right now. So, Biden's policies has definitely done a lot of damage, and the city mayor has, made it worse.
So, what's it like if anything happens? I know nothing's happened to you, but by 6 degrees of separation, you must know some local stories. Like somebody's trying to break into your house, you dial 911. Do the cops actually show up in 5 minutes or less, or what's it like living in New York now?
It depends on where you are. Like where I am is fairly rural. It might take 15 minutes for the cops to show up anyway. Just because they're across town. And there's not a whole lot of them. But from what I understand in New York and the surrounding areas, Jersey City and Hoboken and places like that, unless there's, somebody bleeding out on the street, the cops will get an ambulance over there to pick him up and take him to the hospital. But they're not going to chase down the guy that shot him.
Man, look.
Wow.
Listen, they show up when it's over.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean? Yeah,
they're not going to stop the crime. They'll just clean up the mess.
Neither do cameras. Cameras don't stop the crime either, and maybe they'll do something in the end. But someone has to care. You know what I mean? There has to be a case. And what's a case now?
Yeah, if you shoot someone in broad daylight and the guy dies in the hospital, the cops will review the videotape footage and maybe arrest you for murder, but they're not going on a foot chase to get you, while you're still wielding that gun. They'll sneak up on you with a warrant and arrest you, but they're not actively fighting crime in the streets. because
no, they're fighting for their lives 8 hours a day.
Because the thugs will shoot them first.
That's what I mean. They're fighting for their lives 8 hours a day. It's like they show up and they're like they're glad they made it home that day.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're sitting there thinking to themselves, "What the fuck am I doing this for, man?" You know, it's like I don't care about this guy's store. I don't care about Macy's or whatever. I don't care. I'm not gonna go run in there, you know, and do anything. You know what I mean? At what point do the people start getting like that? Like, have people gotten to a point where they wouldn't even go? I mean, if you're thinking there's a mentality like that floating around, what's it like in the military? What happens? What happens if your mind is? What happens if your mind is poisoned on the internet against your country, and all of a sudden you don't feel so patriotic about going and fighting some foreign wars over in Poland or whatever? Go ahead.
So here's a prime example of how things have changed. It used to be like, you saw somebody pulled over on the side of the road, whether a flat tire or just, you know, went off the road and clipped a tree with their car or something. You'd pull over and see if they were all right. You know, if you were the guy with the cell phone, you'd maybe call an ambulance or call the police for them or something, because not everybody back in the day had phones or you know, the ability. Or you'd flag somebody down for help, right? So here's a perfect example. About 2 weeks ago, I was run off the road and put into the guardrail, and the guy behind me hit me, is actually the one who put me into the guardrail. So the guy who caused the accident kept going. The guy who hit me was a hit and run. And my car is now smashed up on the guardrail. Not a single person stopped to see if I was okay.
No.
But I did see people with their cell phones up taking pictures of me on the side of the road. As I was standing there, I got out of the car and I was leaning up against the guardrail. I was watching people filming me on the side of the road. And nobody stopped to see if I was all right. You know, this is the state of what we're in now.
It's America.
It's America, man. You know, film the tragedy, but don't help the guy.
Land of the free, home of the slave. Right? Well, you know, get it up on TikTok real quick. Look at this poor sucker.
It's the condition everywhere. So you see a guy get shot in the street, you take a picture of it so you can post it to Instagram, but you don't call 911 before the guy bleeds out, right? I mean, who cares?
Well,
that's the problem. That's one of the biggest problems with society. Is everybody's been programmed to look at the situation but not help the situation, and nobody wants to get involved. You know, well, they want the 5 minutes of fame on the internet, but they don't want to get involved with helping somebody who they could actually save their life.
Well, what about
in other situations like what's going on in Hawaii, obviously there's frontline workers and people going in there and trying to help people, because that's a big disaster. But if there's a little personal thing, I mean, even look at the situation on the subway in New York, right? I mean, guys running around threatening to kill people, punching people in the face, and there's 50 people sitting around watching him do it and not stopping it.
Yeah, because they don't want to get punched in the face.
Not too long ago, a girl got raped on the subway in broad daylight with 50 people standing around. Not a single person stepped in to stop it. But the people were filming it.
Well, I mean, let me ask you a question.
What's wrong with people?
Yeah, well, I'd have to say what's wrong with people should start at the very beginning of it, which is, what would ever possess someone in their right mind to go and get on public transit, underground, on a train, where you can't get out if something happens? Well, I mean, what would possess you to put yourself in that type of... I mean, and to me, that's not a streetwise situation. You're not very streetwise if you're down there, because guess who's down there? All the people that want to take your shit and beat you up, cut your throat, and throw you in front of the train.
Well, this is kind of what I was talking about before with the situation of the mayorship of New York, right? Back when Giuliani and Bloomberg were the mayors, and it was all right to ride the subway. I mean, it wasn't the greatest experience, but
Bloomberg used to ride the subway. Bloomberg used to ride the subway every day.
Yeah.
Literally. And that dude, what's his nuts, caught him on the train one time to interview him. That's how he got his claim to fame. Lou Gradowski. That dude, you know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Lou Gradowski. He trapped Bloomberg on the train. The video's probably still there. That's how he got his street cred, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've ridden the subway in New York. It's not. It wasn't really a big deal.
Yeah,
But
well,
now,
it wasn't a big deal
people
back
are
in the
scared for their
18
lives to go down there now. And,
That's what I'm saying.
some people just don't have any other way to get across the city to get to work.
Then
that's their only choice.
Yeah, well, guess what? They got to figure it out, man. That's what's going to happen. You need to live in a 15-minute city. You need to go somewhere where you can walk to work, because you can't take your life. Well, you can't walk to work either, can you? Because
no.
Let me just ask you a question. Once all the people that have shit have left, and you've stolen all the shit from the people that are around you, the only thing left is to steal shit from each other. You know what I mean? Or venture out somewhere beyond the city to rove as angry hordes across the land like locusts, looking for every bit of whatever. I mean, I don't know, man. It's not the same world. Well, at least, I mean, it looks like, like I said, to me, it looks like everybody's gone. I don't see anybody. I don't see anybody left. They're all gone. They're underground. The sun is going haywire. There's radiation coming down. They don't even know they can't even measure it at this point. It's radiation they've never even seen or experienced before.
Yeah, I saw something about that whole thing, like with the UV index being like, 6 times what it was a few years ago. I mean,
listen, year.
It's dangerous. It's like it's 75 degrees out, and that used to be a nice warm sunny day. You'd go out in the garden, hang out, and you could be outside all day. You might get a little suntan maybe, but nothing big. Now you go out for like a half an hour, and you feel like you're burning up, dude.
The only people left are CGI and body doubles playing roles. That's why shit's so out of control. Everybody's gone, man. That's why they ramped up the production.
I wonder how many of these,
That's why they ramped up the production.
Speeches and things are green screened from underground.
That's what I'm saying. They ramped up production of these electric cars because they need a whole bunch of cars for them underground cities. You can't drive around with gasoline cars down there.
Well, yeah, I mean, and Elon's got that covered, right? He's got the Boring Company, which is building the underground tunnels and roadways to ride the electric cars on.
Listen,
and he's got the electric cars to ride them.
Literally,
it's going to be the new way, man.
There is a virtual collapse right now in commercial real estate. Where did all those people go, man? Where are they? I'm not saying they're underground, but I'm saying where did they go? Where's the people in here? Well, I'm just saying, the people in New York who used to fill up all those commercial buildings, they used to pay their rent and buy groceries and shit like that, but they're not there anymore. Where are they? How are they buying groceries? Well, do you know that the United States credit card debt dropped $1 trillion for the first time this month?
And not only that, you know what there's an impending sign of doom is that BlackRock has just bailed out of the United States economy.
I know. Good. Explain a little bit about that now. They've completely divested from the American Stock Exchange.
Uh-huh. I mean, obviously, they still own lots of properties and lots of housing and some of the other stuff that they've bought up.
Mm-hmm.
But they've removed their investments because, anything that could be potentially cost them money, like stocks or futures markets or whatever, they're out. They dumped everything.
The war in Ukraine didn't get rid of the evidence. The war in Ukraine didn't keep people's attention long enough, so maybe now it's on the table to distract you from what's actually going on with the charges being laid against Biden. And so maybe now's the time to pull the plug on it. Send it down to the bottom. That's probably what they're saying. And then we'll just come in there and scoop it up. Buy it at pennies on the dollar, Bruce. I saw another thing that happened.
So
where
did they put their money? Like it has to go somewhere. So they took it out of New York. Where did they put it?
Well, Trump moved down.
I guess back into their banking reserve or wherever.
No, they're defaulting on this on all these commercial properties. The people that owe the money to the banks, they're defaulting on that. And so this week, they reduced the credit rating of the United States, and they also took 10 banks and reduced their credit ratings. So you can see there's going to be a serious consolidation to the point that the only thing that's left standing that can still give you your money back is going to be CBDCs. There are going to be no other questions about how you're going to get the rest of your money. The only way you're going to get your money is because the only money is going to be left are the new CBDCs, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's going to be under the world banking system.
Mm-hmm. World
under
coin.
the national banking system.
Let me see your eyeball, boy.
That's right.
Let me scan that eyeball.
Did you see them orbs, man? They look creepy.
They are creepy as hell, man. It's the eye of Horus, bro.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know what I mean? It's the all-seeing eye.
Yeah.
But they don't
get your retina scan going, man.
Hey, you can get a free beer down at the ballpark if they let them scan your retina.
Yeah, I know.
I know. And
they're giving away stuff here too.
Burger King too. I think you can get a free.
You get a free burger. Yeah. You get a free Whopper.
Well, it's
your
like
eyeball scan.
Yeah, it's like it's a beef product with black lines spray painted on it, and then they microwave it and spray it with some shit that makes it smell like mesquite.
Well, you know the funny part is right. They're doing all these giveaways, but they did the same thing a couple of years ago when they were trying to get people to receive something. They were giving free stuff away. You know.
I know. I saw a thing here earlier. I don't have it on me. I'll get it for the next hour. Oh shit, man, we're almost out of time. Listen, Revolution Radio, fully listener reported. Revolution.radio. Come on down and sign up. Become a patron. Free speech, 48 hours a day, 2 studios.
Separate your heart from your mind. The only way to deal with the stress in these times. You're walking down a lonely road. You never know what the future holds. Are you feeling it's the right time? Rivers flow, turn the night light. Ancient scrolls says the time's right. Let me know, yeah. Are you feeling it's the right time? Rivers flow, turn the night light. Ancient scrolls says the time's right. Let me know. Some say smile 'cause it ain't that bad. Another pill, the doctor said. Remember those feelings that you felt. Well, maybe you should get.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Hey everyone, it's Barbara Jean Lindsay, the Cosmic Oracle. If you have questions about your past lives or future plans, need answers from the cosmos about your love life or career, or just want to keep your finger on the pulse of the planet, check out my show, The Cosmic Oracle, here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
The Secret Kindergarten is here for the young children of the world. The best program on the radio for kids. Dealing with the most important topics in the whole universe. Fairy tales, music and movement, numbers, plants, animals, fun, colors, insects, Take care and cast your ears out to catch a story from the world of other young things. Reach out, up, under, and over. Sing a song. Talk about feelings. Just remember the magic word. The magic word is no. Step on into the secret kindergarten. Saturdays, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Revolution Radio.
Check in every Thursday night for the Crypt Rick and Jonathan Show. Studio A, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here at the #1 listener-supported radio station, Revolution Radio.
Hi, this is Robert Stanley. I'm the host of the Unicus Report, where we explore enigmatic events taking place both on and off this world. Please join me Mondays from noon till 2 p.m. Eastern on Revolution Radio, Freedomslips.
Join me at Revolution Radio, Studio B, at 11 a.m. on Saturday for Free Association, when we take a look at philosophy, spirituality, psychology, social issues, and geopolitics. It's every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Studio B at freedomslips.com.
I want to thank everybody for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the one place where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
All right, let's show them what we got.
All right, thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
It's Friday night. It's Revolution Radio. It's the independent broadcast network. My name's Jimmy. We're number 5 on TalkStream Live. You'll find us here every Friday night, 9 o'clock Pacific on the West Coast, midnight on the East Coast. As we rattle on through the night. God damn it. Bruce is over in the Talamanca Mountains with a bowl of rice and a little bit of rat meat, digging a tunnel, trying to hide from the ultraviolet radiation that seems to be beaming down our weakened magnetic field. I don't know, man. I don't know, Rio, though. I don't think those top hats are sounding so crazy anymore. I think I'm going to go get me a top hat. Keep the, get some protection there. Develop a safe zone above my head so I don't cook my brain and go insane like people are going insane, leaving you on the side of the road to die. It's I don't know, man. It's all too much. Rock and Rio is off somewhere with his mute button. So is Bruce. But that's all right. It's okay. I'm still waiting patiently for the epic.
I'm here, bro.
Yeah, hey, there's Bruce McDonald. He just finished his bowl of rat meat. And if somebody goes to Indochina, do you want a brother in a rice bowl ready to pop a cap in his ass? I think Rock and Rio is lining up the reverse perverse circus. Now, I don't know if I should set this up.
Oh my God, we're doing that?
Well, it's an interesting slant on the reverse perverse circus tonight because it's not political. Now, there was an incident a couple of while back. I don't want to stipulate by put myself in a box. I'll just say there's an incident happened a while back. Some people say it was a crazy moment on an airplane with a woman. And there's some antics. Speaking of antics, man, did you see that boat fight where these guys just went berserk and started just going wild, man, in this brawl on the dock? Did you see it? I heard about it, but I didn't see it. I was hoping somebody saw it.
Oh, I did. That was a racial issue, yeah.
It was racial? What was it like? What was it? Was it a racial fight, like black guys against white guys?
So, some guys that were working on and captaining some kind of ferry boat. I forget what province, what state it was. Was it like Alabama or something?
Yeah, something
but it
like
was
that.
some river boat.
Yeah, some shithole.
Dude comes into dock, and the security guard comes out and says, "You can't dock here." Now the security guard is black, and the crew is white, and they don't listen to him. And then it just went from there. It just that was the whole thing.
Wasn't that?
Is there any closure on the crazy woman on the plane saying that guy isn't real? Like, I saw some buzz on Twitter about that's been resolved, or like we know what it was, but I never dug into. I don't have time to dig into stuff now. I just don't.
I know, me neither.
I wait till Friday night and then I ask you guys.
You don't even know, but that's actually what I had planned for the reverse speech tonight. The crazy woman on the plane.
There you go. Crazy woman on a plane. There's a song called Woman on a Train. It's actually a pretty good song. But anyways, yeah, so woman on the train. What about the woman on the plane, Rock and Rio? So I didn't go into it.
So yeah, she got they know who she is. They gave her, I'm not going to give her name, but I mean it's out there. Her name is out there, but now she's being stalked now. People are like going through her mail and sitting outside her house and all this other stuff.
All because what did she say now? Did she say this guy was a lizard person?
No. See, the whole lizard thing. I kind of dug into this because I obviously it's made the rounds on the internet. I'm sure everybody's seen the video by now. She said, she apparently was having a conversation with some guy in a hoodie, and he wasn't talking. Like, he freaked her out. And so she came to this conclusion that he's not real. Like, she had a complete like meltdown moment.
And now didn't a bunch of people...
she wanted off the plane because she was afraid that this guy was some kind of alien or some kind of lizard man or whatever her thought was. Nobody really explained it. But she wanted off the plane in like the worst way. So they actually stopped the plane. They got her off. Then because she was making such a scene about it, they had to deplane everybody.
Okay, so the thing is now she, at one point, I think people started to say that she was inferring these were NPCs or non-playing characters. There's like some background situation. Which was it now? Was it an alien? Was it a lizard?
Well, so the whole reptilian thing got started because there was another YouTuber. I forget his name off the top of my head. I can look it up.
Mm-hmm.
But he claimed that he was also on the plane, and so was Carrot Top, by the way.
Was Carrot Top?
Carrot Top, yeah, Carrot Top. Carrot Top said she lost her earbud and freaked out. But this other YouTuber said that he saw the whole situation and talked about the guy with the hoodie and whatever. And he said that when they all got up to get off the plane, because they made everybody get off to redo the safety inspection on the plane, that the guy blinked at him, and that the guy blinked at him, his eye blinked sideways instead of up and down. So it freaked him out too. So I mean, it's a teenage YouTuber. So I mean, I think that guy's just looking for clicks, but that's what started the whole "it's a lizard" thing. It's a reptilian thing. That's where that came from.
Well, I don't know, man. All I know is that people are literally freaking out and going psycho in many ways and in many places.
Totally, Jimmy.
And
Well, I mean,
you
but,
guys got
but
any
this
stories?
this is an incident that made the rounds, right? But it's happening quite commonly. I mean, this is like every week we hear a story about somebody freaking out on a plane or freaking out in the
are
airport
you
or
ready?
freaking out on
Let
the
me ask-
subway or wherever. But
let me
like,
ask
people
you a
are losing
question.
their minds, man.
Are you ready for the reverse perverse circus?
We could do it. Yeah. I mean, I got a few things in here.
And we also have Mr. Pregnant coming up with a rant. A person of color is pissed. And we're going to play that video right after Rockin' Rio gets into the crazed, psychotic woman that went insane on a plane. Or maybe she wasn't crazy. Maybe she could see. They found one that could see. Rio came in with a blowtorch. He's chewing bubblegum. He came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. Well, he's all out of bubblegum. It's the moment you waited for. You yearned. It's time to shout at the devil with Rockin' Rio's reverse perverse circus. Rockin' Rio, are you ready to shout at the devil?
Yeah.
All right, let her rip.
All right, so Bruce, you haven't heard this audio of this woman?
I
Or
haven't
seen this
heard the
video?
audio either. I've never heard
Okay,
it.
so I will play the.
I saw the original. Yeah.
You saw the video?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I
so-
saw her do her thing. I mean, it's only like 90 seconds. That
Yeah,
guy's not real, and if you want to die on this plane, then you stay. Yeah, I saw
All right, so I'll play the bleeped version for the forward. Just there's a lot of f-bombs in it, so. Yeah, here's the situation in the forward for anybody who hasn't heard it. Let's see. Oh, that's the wrong mouse. Hang on. Here we go.
And there's a reason why I'm getting the off, and everyone can either believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give two but I am telling you right now, that back there is not real.
Man, I'm telling you.
You can sit on this plane and you can die with them or not. I'm not going to.
Man, that woman has been watching videos on YouTube and listening to shows, man.
Yeah, huh?
And she got seriously, because let me just say, everything she's saying right there, if everybody that was listening to her was people in alternative media, they would believe what she's saying. But she's in a group of people that think she's crazy. So which is it? Is she crazy? Or does she seeing what she's seeing? I mean, has the alternative media got the eye to see the things that are really going on with the lizards? I don't know. Rockin' Rio, does she reveal herself?
Well, she doesn't, but she does. Like, it's interesting because she, there's no really weirdness in her reverse speech, but it's very telling, right? Obviously it's a short clip, so there's not a whole lot here. But it's interesting because like she starts off with let me off right now. Then she says that guy wants to rape me in the ass. And she says you're clicking your nails. You know that sickens me. It says, boy, he runs. It's serious now. Bring us to the pad, which I'm assuming means, get me off the plane, right? And then she says, don't push me, bro, in reverse. And now we're ready for the fall. And then the last thing she says, and it's a really low audio because it's kind of, as she's walking away from the camera, she's like, people are listening now. So, I mean, there's all these statements in here, but I mean, it's interesting because they're pretty clear. Like, so, even in her unhinged moment, like her subconscious is explaining what her emotional state. So I'll do these short and sweet.
All right.
But, it's fascinating.
It's fascinating, all right, because the thing is, like I'm saying, we did the shows. What was it, a couple years ago, where we were playing interviews from. They were interviews by psychiatrists at mental hospitals. With specific people who had specific schizophrenic issues. And we drew a parallel to, like, what are they saying? Well, to everybody, it seems like what they're saying is crazy, but if you really listen to what they're saying, are they that crazy? I mean, maybe they are seeing what they're seeing. You know what I mean? There's no way to really tell if you're not the one picking up those vibes or picking up those frequencies. Some people have the ability to pierce that whatever it is and be able to see entities and whatnots. So,
well, I mean, I've witnessed some really weird supernatural things myself, and you could believe that or not too. So maybe she is seeing lizard people, or maybe she's seeing an organic robotoid, or a clone that's just glitching out, or something. I mean,
she lost her earpiece and she was listening to a David Icke podcast. She was listening to a David Icke podcast. She lost her earbud and then went psycho. Thought she saw a lizard over there. I don't know, man. Who knows? But go ahead, man. Let her rip, brother. I know you got the goods.
There you go. So, the only thing is her voice is so squeaky.
It is hard.
I'm not going to.
All right, so I'm not going to. And here she says, "Let me off right now."
No. I'm not going to. No.
Let me off right now.
I totally heard it.
Yeah. So here's the part about getting raped. He raped in the ass, right? So
I didn't hear it.
Fucking die with him or not?
She's gonna die with him or not is the forward, and here's the. Gonna rape you in the ass.
Oh, man, it's all too much, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Then the next part is where she says, "Clicking your nails, that sickens me."
So there's some tacky hoe sitting in the plane clicking her fake nails, and she got pissed.
Yeah, something like that.
Damn.
Exactly.
It's a rough world out
there. The next part here says, "Boy, he runs."
Boy, he runs.
He runs, and then it says, "Serious now, bring us to the pad."
Serious now, bring us to the pad.
She really wants to get off this plane.
She does want to get off
now and bring us to the pad. So, the next thing is she says is they'll free the mark.
They'll free the mark.
So maybe she did see a reptilian or a lizard or something, right?
Jesus, Joseph and Mary.
Sweet Jesus.
The next one, she says, "What if something?" And I could not make out what the end of this was, but. The what if is very clear.
What? Yeah, bring me last, man.
He says, "What if we something?" At the end there, she kind of garbled it. The next one says, "Don't push me, bro."
Don't push me, bro.
She even says it like they spell it now with BRUH. She's like, "Don't push me, bro."
That is.
I mean, that one's good. I like that.
I don't give two fucks. Don't push me, bro.
Don't push me, bruh.
Man.
Hey, you know, and then the devil's madness, right? Devil of madness, she says. The devil will reveal him. And then she says, now we're ready for the fall.
Now we're ready for.
And then the next little bit here is kind of at the end of this. This one's really low, so I'm going to boost this. You can kind of hear it. She says, now people are listening. There you go. That's the unhinged woman on the plane.
She's unhinged. Woman on a plane. Oh, man.
But that would, you know, she wanted off. She really wanted off. I mean, that's what I got out of it. She was really freaked about something. Like, she was legitimately freaked out. She wanted to get out of there. You know.
Well, I don't blame her. I mean, you can't. It's hard to blame her. You know, if you were sitting next to a reptile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I do have the clip of Carrot Top and the clip of you know, the guy who said he saw the whole incident. I mean, we could play that if you're interested in hearing their takes.
Like organic Sharpton.
I'd have to download them to do it, but yeah, I mean, I could organic Sharpton Carrot Top, but his thing is like 30 seconds. He's like, so we're sitting here on the plane because some lady lost her earbud.
Yeah,
that's all he said.
I know. That's about how funny he is too. I mean, what was funny about Carrot Top in the first place? Do you know? Bruce is a comedian guy. Bruce is comedy from way back. I mean, if you want to know about comedy, you talk to Bruce McDonald. Bruce, what was so funny about Carrot Top?
Well, he became the joke in the end, but he's not that funny. He's got it. I'll give you a little green room insight here. He's got to be the most hated guy in comedy. Like, I don't know why, but other comedians just absolutely hate that guy. Everybody I've ever spoken to.
Did you see
not
him?
hate, but just he's the ultimate example of like no talent but got somewhere. You know, it's all shtick. It's all prop shtick.
Is he like
prop shtick is like the worst.
Is his shtick like stupid white guy? I mean, what is his shtick?
No, it's even just play a clip. Just play a clip, man, and just go
I
Carrot
can't
Top
stand
on
this.
YouTube and let people hear it for themselves.
I can't stand the sight of him, to be honest. That's
yeah,
why.
I never found him funny. He was very crude, if I remember right.
Well, I'll tell you this, man.
He rolls with Pauly Shore in Vegas.
Well, I'll tell you this. I saw him on Joe Rogan, and I didn't watch Joe Rogan or listen to it. I just saw the tile of the Joe Rogan show with him on it, and he was wearing a wife beater, and he was all ripped, like he's been working out, taking some steroids.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He's Gallagher. Yeah, there's another one.
He looks a whole lot different now than he did back in his comedy days.
Yeah, he's not too funny.
I mean, in his comedy days, he kind of went for the clown look, but now he looks like, I don't know, he's really beat up, kind of.
No, I don't.
He did not age well. Let's put it that way.
No, well, no, he's like, yeah. Anyways, listen. So we have this other situation here going on with this other character. Now, there's this character that we found on the internet over there on YouTube. He's got himself a video. He's got himself a channel. But his main thing, before we get into his rant, is he's a man of color, but he's not an American. And he's known as the Transcendental Ambassador. Alliston Fitzgerald Holder the First, research scientist, academic writer, artist, lecturer on linguistics, physics, music, and psychopathology. He's got a channel called the Glow TV Broadcasting Television Network. He's got himself a bunch of videos up there. Here, a sample of a title of one of these videos. Let me click on this one here. I just need to give you some background on the man, because he does get quite deep in his, I don't know, what would you call it, Rio? He just doesn't appreciate.
He does not appreciate the
American
mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the American mindset of the, I guess how you would explain this gently, the self-righteousness of the African Americans as opposed to people who are just, black. That's where he draws the line. The people who call themselves African Americans and insist upon that. That's what offends him.
Okay, but listen here. Before we get into what offends him, this is what floats his boat right here. Here's a video. He's got 376 subscribers. So if you like a cut of his jib, go on over to the Glow TV Broadcast Television Network channel and subscribe. Now, here's a video. A cross-disciplinary, multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary analysis of pathology and psychopathology. Let's just take a listen to what he has to say just for a moment, just for context, on Into the Microcosm, Revolution Radio, Independent.
We're looking at mental disorders from a physics perspective. Semantics is fascinating because semantics is where you explore all the ambiguity. It's pathological compulsion, dramatic situational, verbal, tragic, and Socratic irony. Disinhibition, grandiosity, and pathological. Nihilism postulates that epistemological solipsism, which states that the unimpaired and uninitiated, non-linearly, electromagnetic radiation to music is something called octave. This vibration creates a force, a three-dimensional perspective, neurological and the cognitive aspect.
So there he is. What do you guys think? Pretty intense, no?
Is that his music?
No, that's not his music. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. I'd have to check, but no.
No, but did he choose the music for
the
video?
Yes, he chose the music. He also chose the music for his next video too. And Rock and Rio, you actually, when you became aware of Mr. Pregnant, because that's his other alter channel. He's got another channel called Mr. Pregnant. And when you came in contact with the material from Mr. Pregnant over there, I'm not gonna say the title of it because it may even sound racist even to say the title of the video. But he is a man of color, isn't he? He's a black man. But he's not from America. So when you became aware of Mr. Pregnant, let me ask you a question, Rio. Did you? I know you took a look at him in reverse, didn't you?
Yeah, a brief one. I did find a couple things in there, but if you want to do it, we'll have to go organic.
Okay, well, I mean, you can work.
I do have the one clip that I played you though.
To me, I was hearing congruence.
Yeah, and
that always
it totally fits. That whole section totally fits together with what he's saying forward.
Right. Okay. So listen. Now I just want to say, these are the views of Mr. Pregnant. Okay. And here, hang on a second. Let me give you his full name. Mr. Pregnant, Atlaston Fitzgerald Holder the First. These are the views of Atlaston Fitzgerald Holder the First, Mr. Pregnant, and not the views of Revolution.radio or the Independent Broadcast Network, not the views of Into the Microcosm, but it's a conversation that for some reason has made its way onto the internet. Now, Mr. Pregnant, on the other hand, he has a little bit few more subscribers than old the Glow TV Broadcasting Television Network over there. He's only got 300 and something subscribers, whatever it was. But over here on Mr. Pregnant, he's got himself 67.7 thousand subscribers. So apparently Mr. Pregnant's rant that we're going to play for you now. All right? We're going to play this. And please, if there's any language, it'd be time to get your children out of the room. And like I say, these are not the views of Revolution.radio or Into the Microcosm. This is strictly the views of Mr. Pregnant, Atlaston Fitzgerald Holder the First. Now, are you rocking? Are you ready? Bruce, you ready?
Yeah, man, I'm ready.
All right.
Yeah, go for it.
The title of this video is I Am White.
The problem we have is black people don't like themselves. Black people don't like themselves. I don't like black people. You hear me? I will say it again. I do not like black people. Yes, you didn't hear me the first time. And you're wondering, did he really say that? Yes, I do not like black people. Especially the so-called African Americans. I think all you African Americans disgust me. And African Americans, they don't like themselves. Have you ever noticed that? Huh? African Americans are always trying to live in a mixed neighborhood. Huh? They're always trying to live in the good neighborhood, which is mixed or all white. I don't see white people walking around saying, "Hey, George, we have to live in a mixed neighborhood. Hey, George, we have to live in an all-black neighborhood if we want to be considered socially inclined and middle class." No, white people try to live amongst themselves. White people try to live amongst white people. But African Americans try to live amongst white people. Why are you so-called African Americans, you filth, you scum of the earth? Why are you all always trying to live amongst white people? African Americans move in, white people move out. Wherever the white people go, you African Americans go. Why? White people are very comfortable in their community. I've never seen a white person move to a black neighborhood. White people don't move to African American neighborhoods. Oh yes, they do, if they are on welfare.
Now, I don't know. I mean, this is, some may say that, you know, these are stereotypical, well, I mean, at this point, I'm almost speechless. I'm almost shocked. And I've heard this "I Am White" by Mr. Pregnant a couple of times now. So far, how are you guys? I mean, none of us are of color, so I mean, obviously, it wouldn't sting as much for you as it might for someone of color. But I mean, I thought these were pretty powerful words coming from a black man.
I got a little bit of a Jufro going on here, Jimmy. Maybe I should speak to this topic.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is that when Professor Griff got that book from Elijah Muhammad about this and that, and he, you know, they were reading the book on the bus and they were looking at it, and then he got in an interview and some guy asked him something and he started to, you know, make the same kind of comments as Kanye West was making a little while back, and all of a sudden Kanye disappeared, you know, straight off the earth. I don't even know where he went. I think he ended up somewhere in some foreign country, like he showed up on stage or something at some gig. I don't remember, but now, I mean, shall we continue with this rant from where is this guy from, Rio? Do you even know? I think he said he was from Kenya.
Yeah, somewhere.
I'm not sure exactly where the guy's from.
I'm not. I'd have to look back at the other video.
He's sporting some. He's sporting some. I can't tell if they're real dreads or if that's a weave. I think the dude's got a weave going, and I'm not sure. I mean, maybe this is satirical for clicks, or you know, maybe this is some sick joke or whatever. Rock and Rio. What do you think?
No, well, the other thing I looked at with him. No, I think the guy's legit, man. I think he's really not. I think he's being honest here.
Well, he does go on for. We've only gotten about 1 minute and 43 seconds of his discussion here. Is one. I mean, he's laying it out on the line about how he feels, and you know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Do you want to continue? Shall we continue? What is?
I think we should continue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good
let's do it.
discussion to have. Actually.
All right. Now so you got this queued up too because he does, like I say, he is congruent in reverse. You mentioned that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, here we go with Atlison Fitzgerald Holder the First, Mr. Pregnant, over on YouTube with "I Am White."
I really don't like African Americans. These so-called cotton pickers. Whenever I have a conversation with an African American, they're always talking about black and white. I have never met an African American that just wanted to talk, that just wanted to talk about politics. You get into politics, well, I think George Bush, blah, 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 and black people. You talk about religion, well, I know God was black. You talk about sex, man, I had sex, man, and yo, I picked up this white girl. It's always about black and white with African Americans. I've been wondering for a long time why I don't like African Americans and why these so-called African Americans have such low IQ.
So let me ask you a question. When you see these videos on all across YouTube of people getting beat up by one color, a group of one people of one color, and another color is getting beat up, is there any way to tell just by looking at the color of their skin if they're African Americans or not? In other words, there's lots of people coming over, immigration-wise from other nations that are of color, but they're not necessarily. In other words, if you're 12 years old, growing up, someplace in Africa, I mean, everybody chops each other up with machetes over there. You know what I mean? Anybody who looks just, like a skinny little nothing could just chop your head off with a machete and keep on going. So African Americans are different in a sense that their environment's different here. So I mean, I don't know if this is nature or nurture, Bruce McDonald. But this guy, this African American, well, he's not an African American. This African, Mr. Pregnant, he said he wants to be white. He says, "I am white." He feels like he is white because. For whatever reason. Go ahead, Bruce. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I often wonder, Jimmy, what it's like to be like a bona fide African immigrant to like Canada or the United States, right? And like I'll use my example of Toronto, okay? So you can't really say that there's a black crime problem in Toronto, but you could probably say there's a Jamaican crime problem. And I used to think, like, well, it's so epidemic that the main jail in the West End of Toronto is called Maplehurst, and its nickname is Jamaicahurst, or the Jamaican Best Western. I'm not joking. That's what people call it, okay? And I often wondered what it must be like to be, coming from Niger or Kenya and having a master's degree in chemical engineering or something and moving here with your family and assuming the black stigma. It must be just like horrible. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like going to a country that only has like white people of like the South Boston criminal character. And that's the only white imprint that country has. And you go there and suddenly, you're that.
Yeah.
So
that's what I mean.
So I've always felt that race was a bait issue to begin with,
yeah.
But culture is something we should be talking about.
Exactly. You know what? And the thing is, man, is that it's not about everybody who, no matter what color you are, we're all struggling with the same exact issues. And the thing is the worst thing for the organized governments across the planet, the worst thing that could happen is that everybody would come together. And say, well, we all have these things in common that we don't like, and let's get together and change those things, and we can settle our differences between us later. But let's come together at least on these things that we find the similarities, not the differences. But Mr. I Am White, Mr. Pregnant, Atlison Fitzgerald Holder the First, he doesn't. I don't know, man. I'm not going to judge. You know, it's not mine to judge, ladies and gentlemen. But we provide, you decide, as Kev Baker used to say.
Came to the solution. You see that do-rag? You see that do-rag these stupid cotton pickers wear? It's the do-rag. It's the damn do-rag. These pig shit African Americans. That do-rag is tying their brain down. You ever see those?
So listen, is he suggesting that the style that you see with these different gangs wearing these bandanas or quote-unquote do-rags, is this African man drawing a similar or a parallel to still wearing the do-rag just like the slaves did? I mean, how did they get black people to start wearing the bandanas, you know? Is that what he's saying? I don't know what he's saying, man.
African Americans on the street, 800 gold teeth, $5,000 platinum chain, bling, bling, bling. It's all about the bling, bling, Mr. African American. Remember, 50 Cent said that. Big baggy jeans, yeah, the twisted cap, and they're walking down the street with all that bullshit ebonics. Cannot even speak properly. They don't even speak English very well. And now they're trying to teach ebonics in school. These filthy, dirty parasites of society. They are so parasites. These African Americans, they...
See, now, is this... See, the thing is, though, I mean, why is it okay for him to say all this stuff because he's black?
Well, it's obvious. Yeah, it's because he's black.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not... Right. But the thing is that... See, this is confusing to white people. They don't understand because they say to themselves, well, why is it okay when one people say one thing and other people say it, and well, it's not okay for them to say it? You know, they don't understand because they're being promoted to, you know, through these TV shows and these different movies and rap videos and stuff that, you know, things mean a certain thing and so on and so forth. So I mean, it's they just want to be a part of, and they try to speak in the language that they're taught through these rap videos, and all of a sudden, you know, they're getting beat down, you know, by 30 people or whatever. Curb kick it, you know, kick it on the curb or whatever. I don't know. It's confusing, like I said.
Well, you know, I related a story to you earlier about this, Jimmy, but and I'll give the short version here. Is years ago when I was 16, you know, I used to work in a job, and the cook was, you know, an older black guy, and you know he was a career Army sergeant who had retired, and you know he was now working in the hospital where I was working, and we had this other guy who was also black, but he was a very flamboyant type, and had a mouth, and you know, very disrespectful and whatever. And the older gentleman.
You're saying he was gay?
Well, yeah, he was.
All right.
But
not that there's anything wrong with that.
The older gentleman at one point, like, you know, because the younger one, you know, snapped his fingers and made a like sass move and then walked out the kitchen. So the older one, you know, called him the N-word. And I was kind of shocked, you know, because, you know, 30 years ago, that wasn't something that you saw. It wasn't like it's in the vernacular, you know, in every music video or TV like it is now. And I said, why would you say something like that? And he goes, well, the difference between them and us is, you know, black people have self-respect and respect other people. And the people that we call N's don't. And, you know, that's something that's stuck with me for a long time over the years, is that,
well,
there is one contingency of black people who don't like the other contingency of black people because of the lack of respect and the behavior.
All right, but
so
let me throw
this guy doing, you know, kind of calling out the same thing, you know, relates back to something from, you know, 35 years ago.
Okay, well, let's just say, I mean, 35 years ago, let's go back just a little bit further. So there used to be a black middle class neighborhood where people, it was a mom and a dad and some kids, and they lived in a house, and the pop was working someplace or whatever, and there was these middle class, family orientated black neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. But slowly, those people moved away, and then things seemed to change in these communities where the pops wasn't necessarily around as much, and so on and so forth, and there seemed to be a degradation in the family system, not only in the black community but also across the board with the nuclear families. Bruce, go ahead. What were you going to say?
It is well known, though, that the breaking up the family thing, they did it first to the black people in the United States. That was the ethnic test case for their model. Well, and they did that on purpose, yeah. Man. There used to be a very strong... dude, they just screwed over black people. They went to work on them, man. They've been just really worked on. And... you feel, when you know the whole story, like, you kind of like really feel for them, man, because they've just, like, every shitty experiment in the United States, it started with them. Now it ends up expanding to everybody, as Into the Microcosm has documented so well. But it often, the test case where they perfect the process, it often starts in a minority, and very often in the United States, that minority has been the black population, whether it be
the
Margaret
Tuskegee
Sanger
Airmen, right?
with sterilization.
Tuskegee.
Yeah.
Tuskegee
Yeah, no, they've been
Airmen
worked
is a
on.
perfect example
The
of
devil's
that.
been working on them.
Mm-hmm. And also the Native Americans. The Native Americans on the reservations was another place where heinous activity was going on. And so this dude, Mr. Pregnant, Atlason Fitzgerald Holder the first, African, not African American. We're about 3 minutes into his 7-minute discussion, ladies and gentlemen. Here comes another couple minutes, and please, if there's something that we need to stop and try to dissect, feel free to jump in and let us know, Bruce and Rock and Rio.
Societal parasites. Have you ever listened to a nasty, filthy, pig shit African American? These scum of the earth, these dirty, filthy subhuman, these nasty, filthy black bitches. You ever heard them? Yo, 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 yo. They call each other nigger. African Americans walk around and call each other nigger. These filthy pig shit. Yo, yo. This is how these African Americans speak. Yo, 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 ma, let me holler the bitch nigga, you know what I'm saying?
Well, are these are stereotypical? I mean, this is, like I say, this was anybody, if he was wearing a white, if he was wearing a red hat, and he was a gun-toting Christian, I mean, this guy would be in prison right by now, wouldn't he?
Hate crime. Yeah, hate crime.
He'd be in prison. Now, no, there you go. Now let's ask that question. Is this type of dialogue, is this a hate crime? I mean, in the future, will this be considered a hate crime? Or will he get away with it like Lisa Lampanelli used to get away with it? Remember Lisa Lampanelli? Mm-hmm. She's one of the dirtiest female comics that's ever walked the earth, and she got away with a lot because you know why?
Because she dated a black guy.
Or she said
she did.
That's right. She said her boyfriend was black, and she would say a bunch of really almost kind of same stuff this dude's saying.
Well, I mean, she was a little more.
No, I'm telling
you,
man.
She was a little cruder than this guy.
Yeah, I guess you're right. And then, all of a sudden, mysteriously, it's amazing, she used to be fat and ugly. But she was funny, so she had a career. All of a sudden, she quit doing her old shtick, lost a bunch of weight, And now I think she's even been on The View. She's been completely transformed into something and someone completely, totally different than she was before. Go ahead, Bruce. Do you know who Lisa Lampanelli is?
I do not actually. Maybe I'll take a look.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll
YouTube
dig up.
after the
I'll
show.
see if I can dig up some Lisa Lampanelli because it'll go right along with Mr. I Want to Be White or I Am White. Mr. Pregnant, Atlas and Fitzgerald Holder the First on YouTube, 61.7 thousand subscribers. His other channel has 300 subscribers, and he's talking about. We'll go back to it. Go ahead. Go ahead,
So
Bruce.
the success of an ethnicity or a culture is dependent on its ability to cooperate. Can they form partnerships? Can they form ventures? This is why the Jews do so well. They do business together and they form partnerships and ventures and they cooperate.
Okay,
White people do to about 80%. And then I'll tell you, when you live in Central America, one of the first thing you notice, my son and I and the people who used to come over here and visit, we would talk. You can pick it up in about a week. These people do not cooperate. Like in Costa Rica, if you get 10 partners that want to start a business together, whatever the business is, and let's just say that the investment is $100, and they all put their $100 at the center of the table that they're sitting at. The first guy to go to the bathroom loses $100, and everybody goes home like the other 9 investors go home like $11 richer. They can't cooperate, man. They can't cooperate, right? And I've asked intelligent Costa Ricans. I have friends who have like multiple graduate degrees, and I just because it's not an offensive question. They know. I said, "What's going on here?" And they say it has to go, but it goes all the way back to what the Spanish did. There's a whole story down here. I haven't dug into it.
Isn't there like a whole caste system over there, a pecking order, like that dudes from El Salvador? They do
huge, dude.
I mean, there's like
the Costa Ricans are the royalty of Central America. Okay, now they are physically the most beautiful Central Americans. They're very, very attractive people. Okay, maybe the most attractive Latin Americans in the world. Okay, like they're you can see women over here. It's like Madrid or Barcelona level sexy, like a woman with money in Madrid or Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you go to Nicaragua, dude. Everybody fell out of the top of the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down. And Panama is like on the sexy scale. They're somewhere around Papua New Guinea pygmies.
Well,
and there's nothing
I got some good news.
Very, very unattractive people.
Our guest will be joining us. Who's behind the door, ladies and gentlemen? Top of the hour, secret guest will be joining us, and so
Jimmy.
It's so, my man. It is definitely so. Who's behind the door? We'll find out in about another 10 minutes or so. My name's Jimmy. It's in the microcosm. We're talking a little bit about some of this this discussion that's going on over on Mr. Pregnant's channel. He says, "I am white," ladies and gentlemen, and I'm telling you that this conversation really feels like it's racist to me. But I mean, what is racism now? Is racism hatred for other races, or is it noticing that there's other races and then categorizing people in a way that describes that? In other words, is there anything wrong with recognizing races, or is there a stereotype associated with the recognition of the race that causes it to be racist?
I think that's where that line comes in, right? That there's good people and intelligent people and bad people and ignorant people, no matter what, whether you're black, white, green, whoever, right? So there's within each societal class, there's an upper echelon and a lower echelon, right? So he's called, and like I said, this is going back that there's a divide amongst themselves. Like, I mean, white people do it too. I mean, we have elitists and white trash, you know. So it's no different than a black gentleman.
Well,
and
how do you
someone
tell the
called
difference?
The N-word.
How do you tell the difference between an elitist white? If you had two white dudes sitting there, and they're both wearing hoodies, and they're both wearing jeans and tennis shoes, how do you tell which one of those white guys is the elitist?
Well,
it's the same thing as the black people. Same thing as the black people, Jimmy. If they're bitching and bitching and bitching about the other races all the time, that it's just low class shit. It's like white people who have no education. They want the wages of 1968 to come back. When the car factories were there, and they blame it on Mexicans and blacks. It's just pure ignorance, lack of discipline, failure to get an education, failure. You know, it's the same mentality.
I'm trying to point.
Like I said. You know, my buddy Bob told me, you know, it's a lack of self-respect that separates them.
See,
it's a lack of self-respect and respect for other people.
I'm trying to point something out, man, because the thing is if there's no difference between my shade of white and Bruce's. And there's no difference between me and you, Rio. Our shade of white is all the same. So there's no difference when a person of color is looking at white people. They're looking at them in a way that however they've been treated by specific white people is how white people appear to them, and all white people are that way. Because there's no way to tell the difference between one white guy and another, is there? I mean there is, but I'm just saying the color of your skin when you're white, you can't tell the difference if one guy's on welfare and the other guy's he's rich. You can't.
Well, you can. I mean, does that guy, you know, live in a trailer and wear a wife beater and have, you know, rotten teeth and you know,
well, see, that's the stereotype.
Or you know, does the guy get up and get in his BMW and go to work every day?
Well, maybe he gets up and maybe he lives in his BMW.
You can tell the difference between, you know, the trailer trash, as it were, and a well-educated business.
I'm just saying, if I'm a person of color,
it's the same kind of class structure, right? And that's what it really is. It's a class structure, you know, among the black people. It's the same behavior. You're going to dress ghetto and you know,
well, I'm just
attitude
saying,
and
what I'm saying is if you're of color
that way, or
you got no way of knowing which white guy is which, and everybody gets thrown in the same pot or whatever.
Well, you really, in some respects, you have no way of knowing which black guy is which either.
Exactly, and that's why to judge a person or to
based on their color, that doesn't make it.
No, because like I was saying earlier, when you see crime happening, and the people are of color that are committing that crime, there's no way to tell if those people are American black people or black people from another country.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter because all black people then get put into the category of those people, those thugs, those young thugs or whatever. You see what I mean? So everybody gets painted with the same brush. So like, if only thing you've ever learned or known about white people is that they were slave owners, this and that, slaves, this, you know, racist, that, then that's what you think. I mean, we played the video last week of the black lady that was saying that it was common knowledge around her and her friends that if you hung an American flag out in front of your house, it meant you were a white racist.
Yeah.
Well, so unbeknownst to anybody, you know, they were just minding their own business, happy about 4th of July, putting a flag out, and they weren't racist whatsoever, but they got painted with that brush. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Here comes Mr. I Am White, Mr. Pregnant Atlason Fitzgerald Holder the First.
Smoke my crack at my muzzle, my crib, nigga. Yo, word, these pig shits. They make me sick. I hate African Americans. I know when you see me, you see a colored man. You looking at me right now and you see a colored man. I may be colored on the outside, but deep down in my heart and soul I'm white. I'm very white. I am a sellout. I am a Uncle Tom. I am what you call an Oreo cookie. I'm the real deal, African Americans. You see me right now? You better be afraid of me. I'm your biggest enemy because I do not like you African Americans, you so-called cotton pickers. Guess what? I'm light-skinned. I'm a light-skinned Negro. 100 years ago, while your nasty cotton picking ass was out in the field picking corn and planting rice, I was in the master's house. I was chilling in the master's house, polishing his shoes. Yeah, because I'm an Uncle Tom. I'm a sellout. I'm a straight up Oreo cookie. I don't like you African Americans. I do not. Never did and never will. Don't you see? Don't you see? Whenever you see an African American woman with an African American man with a white woman, that means the white woman is a trash. She's low class. Let's be realistic, folks. The average white male in America is middle class. The average African American male in the United States is poor. Whenever you see a white woman with an African American male, it simply means she is low class. She's an idiot, she has a low IQ, and white men don't want her.
All right. When we come back, who's behind the door? Stick around and find out. In the meantime, it's into the microcosm. 11 o'clock, top of the hour, music break. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Get yourself something to drink. You want to come back, see who's behind the door.
Child grows up to be somebody that just loves to learn, and another child grows up to be somebody you just love to burn. Mom loves the both of them. You see, it's in the blood. Both kids are good to mom. Blood's thicker than the mud. It's a family affair.
Everybody is a star. Who could rain and chase the dust away? Everybody wants to shine. Who'll come out on a cloudy day?
'Tis the sun that loves you brown. When the system tries to bring you down, never had to shine a light. End of the spring, and here she comes back. High, 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 high. Them summer days, those summer days. That's when I have most of my fun back. High, 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 high. Them summer days, those summer days.
I cloud nine when I want to. Out of school.
County fair in the country sun, and everything is
All right, the time has come. To ask the burning question. Who's behind the door? is the host of Mini Ice Age Conversations. And a damn swell guy, David Dubyne. Are you there?
Thanks for inviting me back. Let me turn off the machine here.
Yeah, no worries. Good to have you. Bruce McDonald's here. Rockin' Rio's here. We heard from Epic Journeyman. Internet is still out over there on Maui, and he was going to try to pull some signal. He was going to go to the upcountry and see if he could get a bar. And it was interesting yesterday when I contacted you. You were saying that you actually lived in Lahaina for a bit, did you?
I did, but that was back in the early 1990s.
Mm-hmm. Was it like still, basically not as populated as it was now back then? I mean, it was upcountry, what it is today, or has it expanded? I mean, it seems to me that back then it wasn't as populated as it is now.
Oh, not at all. And then upcountry, you have to drive all the way around the other side of the island to get to upcountry on the side of the Haleakala volcano.
Mm-hmm.
That Lahaina area is just over on the beach on the west side, which is always dry. Like they had cane fires there every year because so go back to the early 1990s. It was just the very end of the sugarcane farming. Like I was there during those last years before everybody got laid off, and then all of the sugarcane production stopped, and that huge side of the volcano become just one giant dust bowl because they didn't plant any longer. And then it became such a huge problem that they had to start, reforesting or replanting that area so the entire island wouldn't blow away with just one giant dust storm every time it was windy. Yeah, there's been a huge amount of changes. And I look at some of those images, and what I saw there is impossible. The only way I can describe it, and this might be a little woo-woo, and I hope I can go woo-woo for a second here.
Please, feel free.
It's almost as if there's some sort of AI program running where it's taking in wind, direction and velocity and trajectory of where the wind would go and showing you almost a profile of where you could start a fire to get the most outcome of burning buildings with the wind pattern. And we've seen this again and again across multiple continents and multiple countries. It's the most damage done, and it's almost like a mathematical geometrical puzzle that can be solved by, what I saw, because those cane fields, I used to ride my mountain bike around there.
Mm-hmm.
And, where some of those wider views, you can see where the fires started, but it was almost like 1, 2, 3 points all in unison where everything then was directed from the wind. But the predetermined point from where to start that was, I'm going to say, absolutely done by some sort of algorithm.
Well, let me say this. Here, let me throw this let me throw this bone in the soup, because it's interesting that you just brought up mathematics and geometrical patterns. Because on January 28th, a suspected Chinese spy balloon was detected by the U.S. off Alaska. And basically, there was also the same type of balloon apparatus that was spotted over Hawaii, and there was these green beams that came down on the beach and created lines across the beach, almost as though it was being mapped. Now, and maybe certain areas were heated up in a sense. I mean, I noticed a similarity, and I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but in Northern California there were some fires a few years ago, and then Deborah, I can't think of her. Yeah, she had brought out a letter had went out to Marin County residents in Sebastopol from Pacific Gas and Electric, who said that they were firing up their solar collector array up in space, and they were going to be beaming some signal down to a collecting station down there by where some of those fires started. Now, one of the things that was interesting about those fires is it looked like anything that was metal was melted, and it looked like the cars were literally just melted to the ground, and then the plastic garbage cans that were next to the car were sitting there perfectly fine. And there were a lot of house fires, but if there was some heating going on with specific frequencies moving towards the metals, then the metals in the wood houses, the nails, the screws, the different flashings, these type of things would get so hot from being bombarded with frequencies that, you know, maybe they would burst into flames and cause these wood structures to burn. Meanwhile, the tree is still standing over there. And these are I'm not talking about what happened over in Maui. I'm talking about what happened in Northern California. So the tree, there it is. The trash cans, they're not melted, but the car is melted, and the washing machines in the house are melted. What do you think about that, David and Bruce and Rio? Do you think there's some sort of frequency thing going on? I mean, basically, how can you point a finger at an invisible beam?
Well, the way I see it, Jimmy, is everybody knows that you can't put the silverware in the microwave, right? Because it shoots sparks and gets really hot. I mean, so if they're beaming microwave signals from a satellite down to a satellite receiving station, whatever that particular frequency might be, you know, it's very obvious that it could, you know, not only heat the metal, but cause it to spark and flame out too. I mean, you can do it. I mean, if you really want to experiment, you can do it in your own home. I would not suggest that under any circumstances, but
no.
I mean, it's the same effect. And, you know, it's the microwave oven in your home uses the 2.4 gigahertz frequency, which is the same as what's in your Wi-Fi router that gives you
internet. It used to be.
So,
now it's 2.4 plus 5G.
Well, yeah, but the specific microwave oven is in the 2.4 gigahertz range.
Right.
So,
and all of these things are invisible, and that's kind of why we asked Dave to join us tonight, because, you know, I don't know if people know this, but like in the next 3 weeks, there's like 6 planets that are going to be in retrograde starting at the beginning of September. And I have this sneaking suspicion, and this is why we wanted to talk to Dave. I have a sneaking suspicion that the sun has changed color from, happy yellow to an intense white that seems to get more and more intense. And it's my personal feeling that when the color and texture of the sun reached a certain frequency band of color, that was a signatory of what was to come. And that's why all this global warming, then climate change idea started to come forward, only because they figured, scientifically, they figured when a certain event may or may not take place. They started, I don't know if you remember the French prime minister who came out and said, well, you have 735 days until global warming starts or whatever, and until it'll be irreversible and all this. And then AOC came out and said we had 13 years or whatever. David Dubyne, what kind of radiation is coming out from that white sun? I mean, there's things going on that people just can't even fathom at this point.
Well, everybody's looking for a signal flare.
Mm-hmm.
That an event that's going to change humanity. Well, if you don't see a yellow sun changing into a white sun as the brightest object in our skies every day, all day, that if that's not the signal for change that anybody can see, then I'm sorry, you're not paying attention. I mean, just in Science magazine, or science.com, excuse me, this week said that on the sun, they've detected the highest gamma ray outbursts from our own star, the third planet from the sun, that yellow thing on the left. It's the highest gamma rays that they've ever measured coming off the sun this week. It was actually last week. Yeah, it was 7 days ago, and then they released the article and said we measured that last week, and it was a this week article. So think about just that itself. And if you want to talk about frequency and change, okay, it can heat a nail. You can do anything with frequencies with metals. So if you understand that could be a thing that militaries have that can be used on our planet against our nations or persons within a nation, what's going to happen when an entire star changes the frequency? There's going to be something affected as this marches toward 2024 in October, when those gas giants are all in the square perceived from Earth. And our sun's changing. You just have to wonder about the effects of electromagnetic frequency on the different minerals in the crust, and also those things that we call stuff around it. Will a copper start to burn super hot? Will it be, the tin, or will it be the magnesium that you had somewhere? Or, will your Epsom salt burst into flames because there was magnesium in it? I mean, we just don't know. These changes are coming, and they're all encompassing. But that's why the changes you're seeing around the planet, they're riding on top of the natural cycle.
I've been around the alternative media for a bit, and there used to be a guy, he's not here now, and he's not around anymore, but he used to make rounds, and this is years and years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And he used to go on shows, and he used to say that the reason for the ozone hole that they were talking about back then was because of the radiation from Chernobyl, and that this radiation was causing this ozone hole. And so since that time, obviously, the ozone hole has become a topic of conversation because it's gotten bigger. And I don't know if there's any validity to his ideas or why he thought what he thought, but I see that ever since 2011, when Fukushima happened, the ozone hole seems to be getting bigger and bigger. And so that's a problem, because doesn't that allow certain types of radiation to get through that didn't get through before and cause destruction on plant life?
I've been doing a deep dive into the penguin deaths down in South America and the effects on UVB radiation for the ability to hunt for the penguins. That's why all these penguin strandings and all these 500,000 here, 500 there, another 1,000 over there, 2,000 there, penguin death strandings, they're all turning up with their stomachs empty. And looking into it, the eyeballs of the penguins, there's oil in there, conduits of oil. We have water in ours, or saline, for example, but in penguins it's oil, so they can deal with the underwater and also the reflectivity from above surface when they're hunting. But in addition to that, the species in the prey that they would hunt would also be affected by the UVB, so they would go into different locations. So what you would see is massive changes on plant life. And if anybody is taking note, I've done a couple reports on this back 6 months ago. Barley is the #1 affected crop by UVB radiation on the planet. So this is going to all be focused on the southern hemisphere. So look for massive losses in the barley crop this year coming up. Unexplainable why the barley has gone to nearly zero in the southern hemisphere. And this mass amounts of penguins. Penguins are if you're looking for a canary in a coal mine, you're looking for a penguin in an ocean to signal UVB radiation changes.
Now, a couple years ago, this is when this first started for myself, and Epic Journeyman was here also. I was doing some driving in California, and I was in a F550 or something. I forget what size truck it was, but it had tinted windows. It was air conditioned. I was going driving from Los Angeles up to Northern California. The windows rolled up. The windows were tinted, and I had a long sleeve black T-shirt on, and my arm was sitting on the armrest on the window ledge, and I could literally feel my skin burning from the sun that was beating down on that side of the truck. And then we started to notice a shitload of leaves coming down off of these oaks. And it seemed that the leaves were coming down all the time, nonstop. And we started looking into it, and all of a sudden we started to find that there was similarities going on in a lot of different places around the world as far as trees are concerned. And there seems to be a high amount of tree destruction going on in the world right now. Is the trees also the canary in the coal mine? I mean, we joke around about the 1800s, and that the guys that you see with the top hats, they were the ones that came out from underground, and they were wearing the top hats to protect their heads from the intense radiation that was still there, but they could, wear those hats. We joke around, but something like this type of situation may be a regular occurrence at a shorter interval than I think anyone's ready to deal with. What do you think about that? Is this a cyclical interval that happens maybe in every couple hundred years, 300-400 years, rather than thousands and thousands of years?
Yeah, hard to say. I would say in every couple of hundred years, we come into this sort of reset economy-wise. Because if you look at everything on the grand solar minimum cycle, it's always in the 200-year phases, 400-year phases. And then some of these, what they call super grand solar minimums, are on a 2,000-year cycle, which is 5 of the 400-year cycles. So...
Well, I mean, realistically speaking, you hear people talk about something that's called the Carrington event. And, I mean, it's documented what happened type of thing. But maybe something more happened during the Carrington event than gets talked about. I mean, maybe the Carrington event was the thing that caused the last Great Reset. Maybe, and I don't know. I'm on speculation island over here, but maybe when the North Pole and the South Pole reverse themselves, maybe our hard drives or our memory gets wiped clean. If you're out here on the top of the surface, maybe float away like it's been described before when pigs fly. That video, I think we even played that video last time you were here. Where the magnetic field, the pole reversal, the magnetic field weakens, gravity goes away, and people float up into the sky like it's talked about in these religious type events, this type of thing. What about this magnetic field moving at an unprecedented rate and reaching what's been talked about as the 40-degree mark, which is the point where no one knows what's going to happen? David Dubyne from Mini Ice Age Conversations. What do you think about that?
I'll come back to the ozone and the Hunga Tonga eruption, because as we move forward with this, there's so many unknowns of cycles so far back in time that we haven't had a chance to even catalog the length of it or the repeat of it. Because, to understand a cycle, you have to see it twice. You can't just see it one time and go, oh, that's a cycle, because it hasn't repeated itself. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure there's a lot of knowledge out there in esoteric circles, and for the last 500 years, the church running around grabbing all of this data, known as steles or stone carvings or whatever it might be, codices, take it back, study it, far better knowledge. But with the Hunga Tonga eruption, here's one thing to understand. I can explain to you the rest of the world's news coming up to the end of 2023 in just a minute here. The Hunga Tonga eruption.
I will start.
Amount of water vapor ever recorded released into the Earth's atmosphere in a single event in a single day. And the amount of ice crystal clouds pushed up into the mesosphere. So these little ice crystal clouds, they have a surface where ozone can break down, but it has to be an ice crystal for that chemical reaction to occur. Now, chlorine can jump in and break down, and bromine also can jump in and say, hey, O3, if you don't know what ozone is, O3, something can strip that off. If there's a single atom out there like chlorine or bromine, it can jump in and say, hey, you got 3 oxygen atoms over there. I want one of them, and then just jump in and strip one away, and then we get oxygen, and then also the ozone is depleted. So since it's the most ice crystal clouds in the mesosphere ever recorded, ever, and not like 10 times more or 5 times more, hundreds of thousands to millions of times more ice crystal clouds in that mesosphere layer of our atmosphere are right there, right now, from that Hunga Tonga eruption. Damn. So the amount of ozone, I encourage everybody to go to NASA Ozone Watch. That's your keyword phrase, NASA Ozone Watch. And you go in, it's Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere, and it goes by the year. So take a look at today's or the latest ozone depletion in the column compared to 2 years ago pre-eruption, and you're actually going to start shaking at your desk when you look at the difference between the two. We are going to come into the lowest, largest, widest ozone hole ever seen by mankind's measurements and instruments. But imagine how that can be used to bend or create fear. Think about that for a second. This is what we're coming into for the rest of the year. Is they're going to run with this ozone depletion event, but they're going to blame it on mankind somehow, some way.
Yeah.
But it will be one of the biggest stories by the end of the year. And they're going to use it for fear, and they're going to use it for more global taxes, and they're going to use it for more control. But understand, please, it's a natural cycle. The magnetic field changes off the sun. Every 400 years cause more volcanic eruptions. Hunga Tonga was the result of that. And, the largest water vapor ejecta ever recorded in human history, quote unquote. And I'll say that again. It was the largest amount of water vapor from an underwater volcano pushed into the Earth's atmosphere ever. We added 10% more moisture into the world's atmosphere in a single day during that event.
Jesus, Joseph and Mary.
So look at the record floods. That's what it's from. The record snowfalls are from that. It's not from human CO2. It's from 10% more moisture in the atmosphere. From a natural event that is now raining down. It's been about a year. January of 2022. A year plus, that stuff's starting to come out of the atmosphere now. That's why we get the record floods and atmospheric cavitations and different strangeness in the jet streams.
I was listening to your show last night, and you had brought up the titanium telephone pole known as the rods from God. And the eruption that you're talking about, there was an anomaly. There was a video of the eruption. And there was an anomaly that happened like a millisecond before the eruption, and it almost looked, and people were saying that it looked like it was a rod from God, and that the eruption was caused and not just natural. Is there any potential for that type of thing? I mean, could you use a titanium telephone pole dropped from space onto a active volcano and cause it to blow? You think that's possible? Because some people go off on
the same video you're referencing too, and it was just interesting how seconds before there was some sort of rod or some sort of projectile that went in right on top of that. Because you have to think about, if you're going to scare the populace with a meteor shower, and look at last week also in the same thing with the Tonga eruption and the same news feed as the biggest galactic burst of gamma rays from our sun ever recorded. In that same news feed, they had something about the Hunga Tonga eruption as well. So everywhere you're looking at it, and in addition to that, it was this, I forget which mission it was. It went up and slammed into an asteroid, but now they're calling a bolide swarm, where there's 37 large pieces that got broken off this asteroid during a NASA mission project, that each, if those rocks were to hit the Earth's surface, would be equivalent to Hiroshima. So there's 37 of those going to swing around again into possible the Earth. But how would you play that? Is that really the truth? Or is that the story and they can use from the rods from gods, throw them into the Earth? Imagine if you said all 37 are going to hit the Earth, and then 37 rods from gods are released, but it's not really those bolides up there, and they never really hit that asteroid, and it was all a bunch of BS and a story to make you believe that there's space debris going to come in and pelt the planet. So think about a rod from God. It would leave no signature. There would be no radiation marks. It would be just, boom, a big hole in the crust of the planet, just like an asteroid would do.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. And no fingerprints.
None, zero. See, like, you got to set up the story first, and I'm wondering how they're going to use that. Are they going to take out population centers? Are they going to take out resistance areas of communities who, after this and during this disruption, have formed their own massive mega communities of off-gridness? Is that what those are going to be used for? Oh, is it 37 debris pieces got knocked off the asteroid when we were trying to mine it or something?
Mm-hmm.
So where it gets so woo-woo, it's fanciful how the media is trying to push these stories now. Makes no sense.
Well,
scare tactic.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like anybody who's anybody is already gone. Wherever they're going, they're there. And the only people left are the body doubles and the CGI deepfakes. I mean, I saw a Joe Biden deepfake the other day that was literally unmistakable. I mean, if you saw it, you would think it was him. I mean, the fake him or the second him. You know, the other thing I was going to bring up, and we brought it up before, I want to remind people, listen, if you think people are body doubles or you think they're fakes, why don't you run some facial recognition software on them and put an end to the mystery. Find out for real. Do a facial recognition program on these people that you see on the screen, see if they're really who they say they are. Do you think there's a way to tell? Do you think there'd be a way for facial recognition to tell if you put some other face on you remotely? It's not you really anymore. Now you got this other guy's face. Oh, it's David Dubyne's face over there at the bank robbery. We got a few questions for you, David.
Inserted into the camera feed itself. Mm-hmm. After the fakeness, likeness image has been created, to somehow tap into that live feed and then introduce that was you in the crime, if it were.
Mm-hmm.
Everything had been done through AI generated. You'd have to generate the avatar, taking a single image and then taking that through an avatar generator, putting on it. You'd have to have a completely separate program for green screen on the back, but you have to copy something in the bank first, but then insert it as a green screen behind that made up individual person who really doesn't exist. And then if there were any words spoken, they could come and find an interview off the Adapt 2030 channel and copy that and then insert the words. You know, I mean, there's so much AI, and it's multi-levels deep on how to do that. And we're looking at that for advertising right now.
Yeah. I mean,
no, let me throw something at you. I'm going to go deep here on the advertising for a second, because we were working with the Gold Company for our advertising in the live radio program.
Uh-huh.
So, for example, what we wanted to do was get FDR when he announced gold confiscation by using his voice, but all the ads, all the words that we would use ourselves in the ads to read it live, to say, hey, go over to this gold company and check them out. But we want to have FDR's voice, but we're also creating avatars that are similar to the same age with somebody wearing glasses, not the specific person, but somebody close enough where it'd be recognizable that it could be that person.
Mm-hmm.
To deliver the message for the minute about, hey, go check out this company. All from his voice and a likeness of him created through an AI generator. and to deliver the ad with a green screen on the back to put the graphics behind it, to have that person, and think about how many famous voices there are across the planet that you could also different demographics and different products that you could push through that. Like, this is just the base level of where this is going on advertising, let alone, trying to frame somebody for crimes or something. It's just, the world is so far different than it was a few months ago. It's kind of,
I mean, before you got here, we did a piece. It was a discussion that was going on about AI using wireless routers to read your mind. And they did a test where they had the subject watch a video and think to themselves the narration of what they were seeing. And the AI, put out text of exactly what the person was thinking. So, I mean, yeah, we're moving into a wholly different world than I think people are, ready to even explore at this point. Now, I found a video. I want to run this by you guys, you and Rock and Rio. Bruce McDonald has stepped out to check out the perimeter. But there's a whistleblower by the name of Eric Hecker. And he says he was a contractor and he was working down, here, I'll just let him explain it to you. Take a listen to this, David, Rock and Rio, and everybody here at the audience. Take a listen.
I will start, since we have to be brief. I have already given all pertinent information and supporting documentation to the Senate Intelligence Committee and ARROW. They informed me that all of my information will be recorded for public record and shared with Congress. It is that important. In 2010, I was selected to go down to the South Pole Station in Antarctica for an entire year by Raytheon Polar Services as an employee of a third-party contractor for the National Science Foundation. I function in a dual-role capacity as a tradesman and a firefighter. My responsibilities required me to be more informed than most of my crew and offered me complete access to the facilities. What I learned from this unique experience needs to be shared with the entire world. The technology at the South Pole Station certainly can do what it is presented as its primary purposes, and unfortunately, much more. The Ice Cube neutrino detector is presented as a passive listening device for the purposes of the science as presented. But I'm going to skip right through the chase, folks. I have provided documentation that proves that the 5,160, what they call DOMs, that are embedded in the ice can actually transmit at 2,047 volts each. That gives us a long list of things to consider. It is effectively a multifaceted directed energy weapons platform that I will list rapidly a few things that it can do. Vehicle detection. We're learning that these off-world craft, on-world craft, ours or other nations, are also emitting neutrinos. So this makes the South Pole Station effectively an air traffic control station for this new level of equipment that nobody's discussing. In addition to the ability to detect neutrinos and the exotic vehicles, I have provided documentation that shows that this is also a system for faster than light communications. In the past, Gary McKinnon has hacked NASA, found the off-world fleet, the list of captains, and it's apparent that if we have faster than light vehicles moving throughout this system, we're going to need faster than light communications. This is that facility. Unfortunately, I have other bad news. The season that I was there, 2010 to 2011, we converted from construction to operations and maintenance in both the elevated station and the detector array. Unfortunately, when they first fired it up, that was when we had the earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand. There was 2 incidental shots before they were able to target it correctly. This is an earthquake generating device as well. This is the weapons of war that we have to deal with now and what Raytheon's hiding. There's an ELF system at the South Pole Station that when I arrived, I was told it was off, dismantled, and completely defunct. In my work, I will rapidly just tell you, I had to figure out the circuitry for certain other repairs, and I found that this system is in fact completely energized, up and running, and being utilized with the other systems for nefarious purposes as well. The Atmospheric Research Observatory is in what we call the clean air sector. I witnessed myself a very powerful green laser shooting out of the top of this facility into the cosmos. This, I believe, is a secondary form of long-range communications and/or a defense system. I am not saying that we need to be scared of anything that's out there, but please understand the military-industrial complex is happy to invest all of your money in alleviating their fears.
All right, so what's your guys' opinion of this here? I mean, honestly, here, I'll send this to you so you can look at, he has documentation he has documentation on the layout of this facility that he's talking about. What do you guys think? Rocket Rio, David Dubyne, whoever wants to jump in, what do you guys think about this so-called whistleblower? Rio, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was on mute. Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, there's probably some truth to it. I mean, it seems realistic, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is it plays right into what lots of people think. So it's easy for something like this if you're in that filter bubble. There's lots of people that would take what he's saying as gospel and not blue sky, or that he's making it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, all these kind of whistleblower things, though, I always take them with a grain of salt because there's always something to them that doesn't quite fit, but it does kind of, it's plausible. It makes sense. But I don't know. I'm not totally sold on the idea.
Man, I'm not sold on the guy either. David Dubyne, what do you think? Bruce, you're back.
Well, they've introduced an earthquake machine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But with the changes in the solar activity, one of the expected effects was increased volcanism and increased tectonic activity, meaning earthquakes. So are they trying to give us this as an excuse that there's an earthquake machine embedded in Antarctica to explain the uptick in large earthquakes? Because anytime something 8.0, 8.5, 9.0 happens from now, they go, oh, that was the Antarctic earthquake machine. Oh, wait, no, it was the changing frequency from the sun that is ongoing for the next, 7 to 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that's it. It's a natural thing. You can't tax it, but there always has to be an excuse and cover for it. And I think that's what we just saw there with that news release. Just again, I'm the same. Take it with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, at this point, our minds have been softened so many times by a million of these scenarios that cause you to be in a constant state of adrenal flux, where you're ready to run out the door at any given moment. And I mean, it's given that the human species scans the environment for negativity. We're always looking for negativity because when as a primitive being, there was stuff out there that was going to kill us. So we're constantly on the eye for that. And so because that's the case, the more tantalizing the end of the world scenario is, the more popular it seems to become, until it gains its own sense of reality, whether it's based on reality or not. And I think there's plenty of things like we were talking about earlier with BlackRock pulling out of the American stock market is a pretty telling sign that something's about to happen. So who knows what's really going to happen? Is it going to be bolides or is it going to be tungsten telephone poles? I was saying titanium before, but they're tungsten. Is it going to be a real earthquake or the earthquake machine? And at the point that it is, at the point that you're in the earthquake, does it matter? Does it matter if it was a machine or if it was the sun? Because, I live in California. So, I was through the 1989 earthquake. I was at a multiplex movie theater and all the ceiling tiles started coming down and the popcorn machines were falling over and people were running and screaming for the door, running over each other. It looked just like the movies, you know, and that's what it'll be like too, just like the movies. And the thing is, man, no matter what we think about or whatever we want to do, when that moment of truth arrives, it's just going to happen just like that. It'll be like everything's normal, and then all of a sudden, boom, everything's not normal. And now everything's changed, and you don't know what you're going to do. You don't have communication. You can't talk to anybody. There's no internet. There's no newspaper. There's no nothing. And you're going to be sitting there with your hand crank radio trying to tune in a news station to get some feedback. Go ahead, Brio.
Well, even some of the videos I was watching about the whole Lahaina situation in Hawaii, I mean, people there were saying it was the same thing, right? It happened so fast, like because the wind was high. Like, you know, they saw the fire on the other side of town, and it came up the street within like minutes. You know, it spread, you know, blocks at a time. You know, it would take out a block every 15 seconds or whatever. You know,
David, is all this?
You're in that situation. You know, that's what people running for the ocean because they didn't know which other way to go. Right? They're surrounded. They're waking up surrounded in it, and it's kind of the same thing like with like you said with the earthquake machine. You know, once the ground starts shaking, you know, it's go time.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen. Bruce McDonald, what do you think about now the sun? Where you are, is the sun seem oppressive to you, even though it's not that hot out? In other words, it's not really, the temperature is not hot, but your skin feels hot, or, you know, you notice plants. Is there any difference in the jungle, the way it's looking where you are? Or what's going on there?
Well, I've been up here about 7 years now, and, you know, it's been pretty much consistent the whole time I've been here. I don't spend a lot of time directly in the sun. Like I don't, you know, if I go for a walk, I usually wear a long sleeve shirt if I go for a walk too. The sun is super strong here now because of my elevation. It's not super hot. Like it's way hotter down in town off the mountain. But the sun is really, really strong up here. Like I lost a dog last year to skin cancer. And things are growing okay, I guess. Like I just finished my abaca harvest about 3 months ago. Wasn't super weight on the plants. It wasn't really bad, but it wasn't really good. Yeah, I don't know. Everything seems pretty good here, but like I'm the exact like 10 or 20 square kilometers I live in Costa Rica, right where I live, I'm in the center of it, is the highest rainfall in Costa Rica. So it's constantly cooling down and it's constantly hydrating. But I'll tell you, when you don't get rain even for 3 days, it gets really dry here really quick, like unbelievably quick. Like you can have a heavy rainfall, and this, if anybody's ever lived in the tropics, you'll know what I'm talking about. You get a heavy rainfall, and then like an hour or 90 minutes of sunlight, everything's gone. All the puddles, everything, like everything is gone. It's like it never happened. The ultimate cleanup crew.
Mm-hmm.
So my microclimate and my microeconomy, it's doing well. So I'm actually getting set now to do a huge, like 1 hectare agriculture project where I get a whole bunch of stuff planted. I want to get a lot of figs. I want to get a lot of oregano. I want to get, you know, about a dozen fruit trees, and all of this. The oregano would be largely medicinal. I'll probably do 100 square meters of oregano.
Epic Journeyman.
Just oregano.
Epic Journeyman's calling in.
What's that?
Epic Journeyman's calling in. Epic Journeyman, are you there?
I am here.
Excellent.
Parking lot of Kihei, near my old place.
Oh,
driving
nice.
around, actually looking for a place to stay.
All right, well, everybody's on the edge of their seat, man. What happened? Are you okay? Did you have to? I mean, what's been going on, man? Were you staying down in that area, or were you at a different place?
Oh yeah, no. Oh geez, man, there's this alarm. Sorry.
No
yeah,
worries.
no, I work for a utility, you know. So, damn, that's
Your
it right
beeper
there.
going off?
Beeping at me. Yeah. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna turn this off now. Hold on. Drama. Sound
yeah,
effects.
no worries.
Oh. That's another one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
That
so
one.
so like the world has been making a lot of speculations, accusations, talking a lot about the rate at which the fire moved. I mean, you say you were staying near Lahaina. Is that where you were put up?
Yeah. I live 2 miles from there, and I go there all the time. Right.
Wow.
I live right there. Yeah. So I work for the utility, and hold on, I'm gonna pull over and find the silence this alarm thing if I can find the place. Yeah. So I had to leave. I got evacuated just now, actually. Another fire started by my place.
Get out of here.
No, exactly. Get out of here. That's exactly what I had to do. So, yeah, let me turn this stupid thing off.
That's
There's
all
no
right.
parking spaces here. I'm gonna park here until somebody chases me out. All right. Nope. Kill that.
All right, there you go. The epic journeyman has joined us. We're gonna get some boots on the ground from the journeyman.
Yeah, I'll give you a report here in a second. Let me find the off button for this radio. This is a handheld radio that's going off. I'm out of range for that, so I can turn that thing off. Yeah, so basically, I'll give you the scoop here in a second. So
Okay,
let me
sounds
turn this thing
good.
off. So it's not good. I'm in the car, so.
Hey, we're here, David.
Are you on a ham radio or a marine radio or a CB radio?
Oh, I'll tell you all that in a second here.
That's
power there.
that's
Turn
David
this thing off.
Dubyne has joined us tonight. Epic Journeyman. That's him there. Bruce is here, and also Rock and Rio, and 60 people in the chat room over on YouTube. Everybody's been worried about you, man, and you know.
Let me grab a soda here.
Yeah.
I finally get to have a soda. Yeah, Ben. So basically, here's the deal. 2:10 in the morning, power goes out at my place, right? And this is on Tuesday morning, late Monday night, right? Tuesday morning. And it goes off again, comes back on, goes off, comes back on 3 times. Then I go back to sleep. About 5 in the morning, you hear the boom, go off again, right? And it never came back on. So, and of course, I get the call into work, So all our stuff is down, right? So I go to first go to Fleming Beach Park. People know where that is. I go there and take care of some stuff. Then another place I have to go deal with over up north there. And at that time, it's a power outage, right? That's all we know. But here's what I want to tell you about the night this happened. That night, what woke me up first wasn't the power outage at 2 o'clock. It was the vicious wind. It was gnarly, dude. Like it was something else, man.
Yeah.
Like it was. I've been through hurricanes. I haven't heard anything like this. I mean, it was just like the whirlwind, hitting, just slamming everything and shuttering the side of the buildings and everything. So obviously, if a fire hits that time, it's gonna be really bad. So that's what knocked the power lines down. And the power lines got knocked down. I got called into work. I'm doing my thing. It's dark when I go to work. It's dark when I get home. Because I've been working all day, and during that time, power never did restore, of course. And we hear that there's guys have seen water spouts out in the water. Dude, the water was like raging, the ocean water, right? Like you look out the ocean, it was just like
because of the wind and all that.
It wasn't just white caps. Yeah, it wasn't just white caps. There's no rain. It's just wind, right? But it was like this black, almost like a tsunami look, black, almost so deep blue, black, but with the white hats, caps everywhere as far as you could see, but there were like ridges of white caps as far as you could see. Like there were rows of them, just going 7 miles across the channel, and the current was super strong. So when I get off work, I hear there's a fire in Lahaina. I'm like, oh, okay, but still on the other side of the road. Then I hear it jump the road, but I go home. I've been up all night, right? So I go home, go to sleep, wake up, no power, no cell phone. Cell phone went out after about 4 or 5 hours. Lasted longer than expected, actually. And this entire time, so like today, there's been no cell phone, there's been no power. It's just been like, lost in totally Stone Age, man.
So you're actually living in the moment, what everybody fears will happen to them someday.
Totally. Yeah. We were totally like isolated. And you can't leave because, Lahaina burned down. I mean, Lahaina town burnt down. It's like Nagasaki, right? So it's gone. Like, so that's gone. And then, like two of my coworkers, they lost their houses. Looking at the way I killed another one. The fire came right to their doorstep, like literally right to the doorstep. But they had the new construction, like the California standards, since the wildfires of California. They just built it, and the fire stopped like right in their yard. It didn't burn their house. Everything around them burned down.
Great. I saw a house that was standing and everything else was burned. I wonder if that was the same house. It was crazy.
Might be.
Well, I mean, we also noticed there was a similarity to the Northern California fires. Like cars were melted. Telephone poles were down.
We lost our fiber network. Our link to the outside world. We lost everything, man. Like, so the only comm we got, I got a satellite phone, but the satellite phone they'd sent from our corporate in San Jose had the wrong region, so that was no good. So we had one for the whole place. So we've been actually doing tag, like driving into like places to meet and just catch up with everybody. And it's, you got to imagine, it's a massive thing. We're trying to. I can tell you what we're doing. We're keeping water running, right?
Right.
That's the whole thing. So that's the whole thing. So there's no fire hydrants if you don't have water, right? So nobody burned down in our neighborhood, neck of the woods, thank goodness, because we had water, right? We kept it up. But so keeping those generators running, keeping the water going down there, keeping all that stuff happening. That was full time. I slept like 9 hours in 4 days, man.
Well,
see, worked like all straight.
This is the thing, Epic Journeyman, is that it's like you were sitting there 1 minute sleeping, and the next minute, boom, a transformer blows, and all of a sudden you got no power. And at that moment, I mean, you didn't have power or cell phone, so you couldn't call anybody, you couldn't find out anything, you didn't have any internet.
Yeah, we had cell phone for about 4 hours, maybe 5, in the first day. So by the time I got home in the afternoon, normal time, it worked like an hour overtime the first day. Well, it was more like 3 hours because I got called in early in the morning, right? But so I went home, went to sleep, and had no power because I needed a nap, And when I woke up, there's still no power. I'm like, I better go see what's going on. So I did like some rounds to check on all our stuff, all around at different districts. And just made a whiteboard and started writing stuff down because we never met up for the first couple of days, hardly. And then, what everybody found and what everybody's doing, and just trying to rendezvous up with each other and get our stuff keep all our stuff going. So we're just basically keeping, it's amazing how much people look for information in a situation like that, and they see a sticker of your utility on the side. The truck, they're asking, they'll flag you down and ask what's going on, like you're supposed to know all the information.
Man, I saw some intense video of 2 guys trying to get out, and they were in it's like some minivan, and there was a car in front of them. There was so much smoke they couldn't see. And they were basically trying to get out, and they were tailgating this other car, and they were going down the main, it seemed like it was like the main drag, but I don't know if it was, but everything was on fire on either side of them, and they got to this one point where there's like a dead body just laying there, man. There's some lady
overcome with the smoke. So the house, my coworker, his whole family, their husband and wife, they work together at the place, right? And they're the mother-in-law takes care of the kid, like full-time babysitter. So they were all home when this happened, and we were able to get over there before the fire. It's off work time officially when it jumped. You know what I mean? It came across the road, started hitting Lahaina, and so the firewall was coming down the way, and the whole there's a lot of people that were just like sleeping, kind of homeless, but not really homeless. They're camping, right? They're running for their lives and jumping into the water, like into the harbor, right? And so the woman that works at my place, right, that with her kid, takes off with the car and makes a wise decision, takes this left turn instead of right kind of situation, and gets around the whole clump of cars right before the whole thing got, like the typical disaster movie, shut down, right? Everybody just stuck in the roads and runs out of gas, all that kind of stuff. And it's a 2-lane road, and then other people try to jump the lane. And so she just got out of there, and when she got out, she could feel the fire, right? You know what I mean? The heat of the fire was that close, right? And so, a lot of people that didn't make it, they literally running into the water and got overcome by the smoke. And the people that did get away, got to the water, had to be rescued by Coast Guard. We don't know how many people, those people just drowned. You know what I mean? We'll find them later sometime, maybe.
Damn.
Yeah, and the people. I when I went my rounds that night, I drove up to that same beach park first, and there's nobody supposed to be there at night because it closes at night. And I start seeing these cars come in, and it's this car with these 2 tourist dudes, and they say, "Hey, I heard there's like water and bathrooms up here." I'm like, "Yeah, but this is it, but the park's closed." No, man, it's the first I heard about it. Is that right? I haven't heard anything yet, right? They're sending the town's on fire, man. Lahaina's burning down. They're sending people up here to ride it out. So really, that's when I just started like combing, and I'm going up up country and all around, and like dozens of sites, right? And so it's been an intense couple of days for sure.
Well,
so when I got home today, they had the fire almost contained, 85% contained in Lahaina, and then right in my neighborhood, a fire starts, and people were bailing out of my complex. I bailed out. So I'm over in Key. That's why I got cell reception right now. We got a little bit of cell reception today. Excuse me, I'm having a soda, and power just started getting restored north side. And I was hoping my place to get restored tonight, and our gear would get power, so I have to be out there trying to troubleshoot generators all day long. Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
So
that's
maybe
that's what
late,
happened.
but I made it.
Well, listen, David Dubyne's here. He lived over there back in, I think, what'd you say, David? The 90s, something like that, 80s. You were over there.
Yeah, in the 90s. And Journeyman, I got a question for you, because with the communications going down, were people using the marine radios more? Or were people on CB to communicate? Or was there people using ham radio where you could contact? Or like, what was the number one thing used during this situation in terms of alternative comms from the mobile phones?
Well, here's what happened. We lost all our landlines and we lost the radio towers too. So we had no comms at all, like in West Maui. I mean, and there's some bounce from cell signal that came over like through the mountains. You know what I mean? And if you got just the right spot from the other side of the island, I mean, it's from the other side of the island, right? You could get like a bar enough to get a text out. Maybe most people. I never did. I didn't the whole time. But you'd find people driving around, like out in the boonies, but it shouldn't be actually, trying to get a cell phone so the highest roads possible. I saw a guy standing on top of his truck with, it's something out of a movie, man. Standing on top of his truck with a cell phone held as high as he could.
That's funny, dude, because I was telling people.
Yeah.
I was telling people early on in the show that I had pictures from the Puerto Rican hurricane where people were standing there like praying to the god.
Oh yeah, they're totally doing that.
Yeah.
And so people started camping out. Like there's two pockets where they get like one bar, and so people started camping out there, like literally camping out on the side of the road, or literally the side of a road, or just back road somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But and then nobody has food. Here's the thing everybody has to remember: we all experience it in California, but people listening abroad, they haven't experienced this yet. A big power outage or fire like we have in California back in the day. The first thing that happens is you lose power. You have no gasoline because all the gas stations shut down, and none of your credit cards and none of your debit cards work. I mean, it's your typical apocalypse thing. And what I learned was to go with this wild wind that we had, right? This tempest that came out and started this fire in the first place, and the sea kicking up like that. It was the Lion's Gate that day, the celestial event.
Wow.
Lion's Gate. Yeah. Interesting, eh? Wow. 8/8. So.
Hey, but can I ask you another one there? You noticed that the weather was way different because, like those trade winds are always howling. You get those 40-mile-an-hour days, dudes are out windsurfing, everything's just like, you've experienced heavy wind. It's like the normal trade wind.
Yeah, this was not that. No, it was like honest to goodness. I mean, here's when I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, first power outage, I looked at the weather because the wind was so hard. I couldn't almost sleep through that at all because it was just knocking everything around the side of the building, the complex. So I looked at the weather map and I noticed something I hadn't seen before. This in the Pacific this year, any year really, where the island was cold on the map, like the whole island chain was cold on the map, and the water was in the orange spectrum. So the islands were blue; they were in the 70s. This is at 2:10 in the morning, and the water is in the 90s, and it hasn't been like that. Like it's been hot over in the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, super hot, 101, 102 degrees, but not like that here. And it was this big swath. It was like it was moving. Big band, right on our latitude. So very unusual.
Could this be the sun, David Dubyne?
It could be. We're looking for these giant electromagnetic changes now until October of 2024. Like if you're going to look for an amplification phase, we're seeing it. I mean, we've actually seen it for the last couple of years, but they kept trying to have us believe it was global warming and it was based on CO2, but it's not it's not CO2, it's the sun. And that's why all ancient cultures would revere and worship the sun, because they were trying to see the patterns of the sun because it had so much effect from here. Now, if the jet streams and the cloud cells are going to go out of their normal flow because the the frequency and the magnetism that holds the clouds and the jet streams in place is getting super loose so they can move anywhere. But here's the thing, they collide in the skies too, which causes a lot of what you're seeing, this super jet. Like 80-mile-an-hour winds in Hawaii, yeah, that would wake me up too. But you're seeing super jets, and we're seeing these super storms across the planet start to evolve this year. But now it's noticeable for every single human being. And what are the repercussions then from like things like we're seeing here with these fires? Every power pole is going to go down if we come through these events. We're seeing like 10-pound, 5-pound, 3-pound, 2-pound hailstones now. World records being broken every single week for the size of hailstones now. Okay, it was great when it was once in a 1-year thing, but now it's literally every week or every 2 or 3 days, they're getting the next largest, biggest hailstone across the planet. So yeah, I think that was definitely something to do with upper level winds that are being compressed, moving faster over areas on the planet. And it just happened to be Hawaii this time.
No, I mean, there's lots of speculation that there's weather modification that goes on and the use of these nanoparticle type aluminum pieces, which is what some people say is the reason for these intense firestorm type storms that we were talking about. And it even kind of ties into what we were saying earlier about the heating of metals. This aluminum dust that seems to be everywhere. And I mean, they're even making aluminum resistant seeds now for there's so much aluminum. Do you think this could be causing some of this intense firestorming?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Epic Journeyman.
You need a couple of things. You need the actual fuel, but think about the accelerant is also the tree killer at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to dump metals, let's just say 10 years, because that's kind of an easy thing to, let's say 10 years ago, there was a plan to distribute different types of metals, barium, strontium, aluminum, that would come out of aircraft. And these contrails, which used to last for seconds, would now last for hours and then turn the skies opaque. But then eventually over time, it would drift down out of the sky. And see, that's the same thing with the mesospheric ice crystal clouds from the Hunga Tonga eruption. They are now drifting out of the sky. There's a drift rate that's been measured on how long, and this was one of the biggest things that they were worried about anyway, so I can connect two ideas here. So David Keith and all those persons that were doing the original atmospheric blocking studies, SCOPEX was actually the name of it, SCPOX, SCOPEX, which is stratospheric injection. And the main number one thing they worried about is if they put the program in play and they were up there dispersing these aerosols across the planet and they had encountered a VEI-8 eruption, because generally those particulates put up there take about 3 years to drift out. That's from their own studies and from their own information. It's dispersed. There's a 3-year hang time, for a better term, and then you need to start again. So nothing's permanent. It's not going to stay forever. 3 years and it's out. So there are all these calculations of how much would be put up for how long, and we know what kind of density and reflectivity they were looking for in these calculations. But now you got the Hunga Tonga eruption. It didn't eject ash. It ejected water vapor, which is something that nobody was taking consideration of. So where you see these extreme weather, flows and winds now you're trying to mix in the human element. And again, I'll come back to it. The elite are trying to ride on top of this natural cycle to achieve some outcome. And we saw one of the outcomes. That was just scary, the way that the fire spread in Maui. I mean, I lived there for, 10 years off and on in the 90s to like the year 2001. Brush fires there every year, every single year. There were always cane fires every year, but it was never like that, ever. It's so mind-bogglingly thousands of times more than possible of anything that I ever knew about how fire could spread, especially across the highways and those fire breaks and water channels. And those are natural fire breaks. Like it never happened like that before, except what, like 1919, I think, Lahaina, but it was much smaller then, and it burnt on the waterfront too, but just that little section there. So I can't believe how much history is repeating and how many cycles are back in play again. But I can absolutely say that an enormous amount of these things we're seeing are all interconnected.
You guys want to hear a great story? We've gone overdrive here for about 10 minutes. I was talking with somebody at work today about it, and what I remember most about my visit to Maui was the banyan tree. And so I was mentioning that, this banyan tree had, taken some damage or whatever. And one of the guys I worked with, grandparents met at that banyan tree, and he asked her if she liked the tree, and they went and had a drink. And they got married, and his grandkid is somebody that I work with. So I mean, the tree has a lot of meaning to a lot of people.
A lot of history, yeah.
Epic. Is the tree going to survive?
Well, it doesn't look like it, but you never know. Sometimes, the tree can take a lot of burning, sometimes come out of it okay. But I don't think so. I haven't been in there to see it. They're not. Now, here's the thing. They're not allowing anybody back in there.
Not even you?
No, not allowing anybody. And the only people who go in there, like, right now are, like, FEMA and National Guard and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big scandal because people like run in the barricades to go check on their stuff at the house or whatever, and there's looters, supposedly looters. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just a rumor. And Island Radio, the rumors, a thing. Like, it's amazing all the rumors are going on because you had no. You know what it's like? It's the best example I can think of is that movie, the Monsters on Maple Street.
Yeah.
Not movie, the Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it was like. Everybody's coming up with these theories and stuff. I had people asking me because they look at me as an authority figure with my uniform, and I'm coming home, right? They're like, what's going on? I tell them, like, that's not, there's all kinds of rumors. This is going on. That's going on. Like, no, man, that's not happening. They're all worried like they're going to have to. They're not going to have any water, and they're going to have to all get out. They're going to be, bust out of there in a day or something, and stuff, kinds of crazy stuff.
I was saying the Samoans are just going to go back to living in huts, and they'll be happy everybody was gone. But everybody's not gone, are they? Lahaina's.
Well, I actually have seen pictures of that tree after the fire, and it doesn't look that bad. So there is a possibility it might survive.
Well, redwoods.
I mean, yeah.
I live in the redwoods, and when there's fires here, redwoods redwoods don't burn, man. They just don't. I mean, everything else burns, but redwoods, for some reason, they just they're fire retardant or something. Who the hell knows? Epic Journeyman, are you gonna be okay? Because I mean, everybody's worried about you. So, do you got a place to stay and everything, or you don't have to sleep in the truck, do you? With your uniform on and your radio going. I think we lost Epic Journeyman, man. Listen.
Yeah, we did.
Listen, David Dubyne, thanks for being with us tonight, man. We really appreciate you being here, and you're welcome to come back.
The call, sorry.
No worries. I was just saying goodbye to David. Mini Ice Age Conversations. David, is there a website where people can find your work too? I think there's a website, no?
Yeah, I'm starting to get back into it. I took a hiatus there, but the website, slowly polishing. Oilseedcrops.org.
Oilseedcrops.org. There you go. So yeah, you're welcome to come back. Maybe you and Ransom could come back in a couple weeks and stop by and see what's going on.
Yeah, epic, man. Your whole thing there is, what we're seeing out here is the narrative of possibilities versus living on the ground. Because imagine with the changes in the solar activity, that the banyan tree being alive for so long would have been a conduit. So anybody who stood under that tree would have attained some sort of like speedy enlightenment, for a better term. So going off on it, was that fire caused to try to take that tree down just so that thing was not there? Like at the levels of just darkness that we're seeing across this planet. And you're going to see a lot of things and a lot of people coming in. This is going to be a real interesting time. I'd love to talk to you next week after, things settle down. But like, notice what kind of mischievous and devious characters are arriving at the same time. Like, take note of that.
There's going to be all kinds of theories about this, I guarantee you. I mean, obviously for people that aren't here, but people even here, I'm sure the kind of thing that's going to come up is Lahaina town is historic. They call it historic Lahaina town for a reason. It's an old whaling town and one of the first places, populated over here. And the thing is that it also has, not only is it traditional, it has its heritage. There's a lot of old houses there. And because of that, there's a lot of mix of social status and classes here, because really poor people can stay and rent places and, you know what I mean, rent a room somewhere, thing like that. There's a lot of old houses that people rent out their downstairs or upstairs, things like that. Things like that. A lot of old Portuguese fishermen and whalers and things like that settle here from all over the world, that kind of thing, as well as locals. And, so we had that big kind of melting pot culture as well. But the most important thing is the diversity in the sense of the income bracket. And what's going to happen, what people, or I swear, are going to say, I can see the argument, is that, well, the places that just caught fire, West Maui, those are the places that want to be gentrified and upscaled and sold to the billionaire class, and all these, unwashed masses are living there now. Let's get them out of here.
So burned them out?
Burn them out, yeah. So because there is a move to that, like the one area up there by the airport, they've been trying to build 800 new houses there for years and years and years, and there wasn't enough water for them to do that, right? It's just there's only so much water table. And oddly enough, now that all those people are burned out, there's not anybody living there. There's going to be more water for them. So, yeah, and that's the kind of conspiracy that I don't want to spread, but it's also the kind of conspiracy you can absolutely see the people that got burned out thinking, And I really hope that the people that lost their homes, that had it insured and, are going to rebuild there and do their best to keep the kind of flavor that Lahaina once had and keep it there. Because I don't want, it didn't turn into some Monaco, for the wealthy, because that's definitely on the bill of the agenda for that class. I guarantee you. They'll look to buy everybody out. Oh, look at those fires. You want to live here? I'll give you twice what the property's worth. Or they'll try to buy low first, but then those people don't want to sell. They'll probably offer big money to get them out of there so they can gentrify the whole place.
Yeah, well, you don't just build houses over in Hawaii, man. In the Hawaiian Islands, your materials got to come from somewhere. So, and they're not going to be cheap. What's a 2x4 cost now? It used to cost 95 cents. Went up to like $10. What's a 2x4 cost now? Do you know?
That's about right. Yeah, $7 for depends on the grade.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Rock and Rio, David Dubyne, Epic Journeyman. Time to get out. You've been working your ass off, man, and we really appreciate you coming back and just filling us in, and we can get more in detail when you get your feet back on the ground over there.
Yeah, I'm parked by a beach in Kihei. I was just looking for a place to park.
Nice.
I might be sleeping in the truck tonight. Yeah.
Oh, you're sleeping in the truck? All right,
Probably, yeah.
Send him your prayers, ladies and gentlemen. Send your prayers over to the Journeyman. He's the Sandman, the Silver Surfer, and the Submariner all rolled into one. All right. You ready to go, you guys? There we go. We'll see you when we come back.
The average age of the world's great civilizations has been around 200 years. These nations have progressed through this sequence from bondage to spiritual faith, from spiritual faith to great courage, from great courage to liberty, and from liberty to abundance, from abundance to selfishness, from selfishness to complacency, from complacency to apathy, and from apathy back to dependence, and from dependence back to bondage, back to bondage, back to bondage. Logic alone would tell you the republic is being destroyed. The republic is being destroyed by European secret societies operating under Rome, and nobody seems to know anything about it. criminals are always organized. That's why they're always superior. Good people never get organized. Only criminals get organized. They operate in the dark, totally ruthless.